Later this afternoon, that will drop on BBC Sounds. We, though, here on 5 Live are building up to commentary of the Monaco Grand Prix. Lights out at 2 o'clock, and let's head there now, where we find Harry Benjamin on the grid.
Welcome to the streets of Monte Carlo, where the barriers are close, the margins are tiny, and history has a habit of being written in the smallest of moments. Qualifying yesterday may have set the stage, but now comes the Grand Prix itself, where track position is everything. Strategy has to be perfect, and one lapse in concentration can change the entire afternoon. The Mediterranean is sparkling once again. The yachts sit packed into the harbour. The balconies and terraces are full, and every available viewing point around the Principality is taken. Monaco does do glamour like nowhere else, but behind the backdrop is one of the most intense and unforgiving races of the season. 22 drivers then about to make their way through these famous streets. We'll guide you through all of it. Up in the commentary boxes, myself, Harry Benjamin. The busiest part of Monaco right now is the starting grid, which is where we can find our very own Rosanna Tennant. Afternoon, Rosanna.
Harry, good afternoon. Wow, what a grid. It is so busy down here. It's incredibly hot as well. So it is really starting to build the atmosphere here. I'm celeb spotting. I've seen Michael Douglas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, the American actor Terry Crews, Sir Mark Cavendish is down here. So many people to hunt out. And I did pass Kim Kardashian on the way to the grid as well. I'm sure she'll be heading here to support Sir Lewis Hamilton. So it's a real who's who this afternoon, and I'm soaking up every bit of it.
Rosanna, I hope, like the VIPs and the drivers, you also have someone holding an umbrella over you to protect you from the glaring sun.
Absolutely, because this is radio, I can trick you into thinking I'm living a celebrity lifestyle. The truth of the matter is, it's absolutely scorching here. You can feel the heat coming up through the floor, through your shoes. It is very, very hot, and alas, no umbrella holder for me.
Well, we'll send you on your way. See who you can grab for us on the grid. Indeed, air temperature is 23.7 degrees. Track temperature up at just under 39 degrees. The humidity at 61%. No chance of rain for our 22 drivers that are going to take to the track for 78 laps around what is a track that is difficult to overtake on. Patience is going to be tested, but for the driver at the front, well, pressure awaits, and it's quite a tantalising prospect, really. We've got Kimi Antonelli, our championship leader, just 19 years of age for Mercedes, starting on pole position. Alongside him is Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. I'll bring in alongside me in the commentary box our BBC F1 correspondent Andrew Benson. I mean, Andrew, you've been coming here for a fair few years now. Why is this place just so magic?
Well, I mean, it's everything about it, isn't it, Harry? It's the glamour, it's the history, it's the sunshine, it's the setting. There's nothing Monaco doesn't have, apart from maybe overtaking the Grand Prix this afternoon. But that's all part of the challenge. You know, it's one of the greatest racetracks in the world without considering where it's located. It's a challenge. The walls are close. There's drama around every corner, and my mouth is wet with expectation. I think
we can all attest to that. Never fear if you're waiting for the voice of the 1996 F1 World Champion, Damon Hill. He is en route, but he's currently being swarmed on the grid. So he will be making his way up here and will be with us for the duration of today's Grand Prix, the 6th round of the Formula One season. This is how the championship looks coming in to this stage of the game. Kimi Antonelli does indeed lead by 43 points over his teammate George Russell in second. Charles Leclerc sits third for Ferrari, with Lewis Hamilton fourth, and the two McLarens in 5th and 6th. Norris ahead of Piastri. That's how the drivers' standings look. Over in the constructors, Mercedes lead the way by 72 points ahead of Ferrari. And let's head straight back down to the grid with Rosanna.
Harry, I'm joined by Lindsay Vonn. Great to see you, Lindsay. First and foremost, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. This is only my 3rd day off crutches, so it's a big day for me. A lot going on, but I'm very excited to be back kind of in the world.
Yeah, and I want you to be careful here on the Monaco Grand Prix grid. This is not somewhere you want to be knocked over.
No, but I got my man Jürgen from Red Bull taking care of me, so he's making sure I'm not getting plowed over.
Who are you supporting today? Who do you think might be able to take the win?
Of course, always with Max and Red Bull.
Well, enjoy your time here. great to hear that Lindsey Vonn is on the mend, Harry, after that huge crash at the Winter Olympics.
What a get, Rosanna. Lindsey Vonn there, the won 4 World Cup overall championship win titles for the USA, and gold at the 2010 Winter Olympics for downhill skiing, the first one for an American woman. The athletes really are coming out in their droves, joining the VIPs, the actors, the models, and everyone in between as well, celebrating the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, I promised you the voice of the 1996 F1 World Champion Damon Hill, and I always deliver on my promises. Damon, how was the grid? Welcome to the commentary box.
Yeah, well, do you know, I had to fight my way through all these celebrities. Get back to you, Harry and Andrew. So we're excited to be here. It's absolutely brilliant. I just thought of a brilliant new name for racing.
Yes.
Kardashian. Kardashian. Anyway, it's been a bit like that here in Monaco. There's a lot of celebrities, there's a lot of excitement, and genuine excitement, because we do have one of the most amazing displays of brilliance in the cockpit as you're going to get in Formula One and our sport. And so, moments to go before the start, what is going to happen? We don't know.
We don't know. It was an incredible qualifying from both the front row. Kimi Antonelli on pole with Max Verstappen alongside. Damon, you've been in that position that Kimi Antonelli has been, on pole position on the Monaco Grand Prix. How exciting is that?
Yeah, it can go right or it can go wrong. You can win it from second. You can win it maybe from third. Very rarely, but it can happen.
Well, we shall see. We'll have 78 laps to decide that. It's a short run down to Sandoval, a tight right-hander, and Kimi Antonelli will start on the right-hand side of the grid with Max Verstappen to his left. But the fast-charging Ferraris will be just behind them as well, in the form of Lewis Hamilton and the home hero, Charles Leclerc. But before we go racing, they're all stood at the front of the grid, and in a moment we will have the national anthem of Monaco. The national anthem of Monaco blaring out over the Principality, a packed out Monte Carlo, as the drivers now make their way for their final preparations before getting into the cockpit of their Formula One cars. Damon, Kimi Antonelli is the man on pole with Verstappen alongside, but as I said, the Ferraris are behind. When we talk about starts in Formula One this year, we've been looking at the Ferraris. They've been so quick, and actually two of the men that haven't been as quick off the line have been the two men occupying that front row. Could that scupper their plans of leading into turn one?
I think it could be a drama for both of them. I think Ferrari are very happy with the way the car gets off the line. The question is there room on either side for one of the Ferraris to leapfrog these guys? And one of them take the escape road, or be forced to take the escape road? But they're going to try. I guarantee it, they're going to try.
As on the grid, Prince Albert of Monaco greets the CEO of Formula One, Stefano Domenicali, there with the president of the FIA as well, the governing body, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, as they now start to vacate the starting grid. Lewis Hamilton starts in third. His last win was the 2024 Belgian Grand Prix. He's been feeling in good spirits off the back of that podium last time out in Canada, with a great battle with Max Verstappen. He's got close friends with him this weekend as well. Could that power him forward? How impressed have you been with Hamilton so far this weekend, and Ferrari?
Do you know, he was asked a question on the bus as they went round on the parade of the drivers around the circuit. He was asked a question about, do you get a bit bored with this sort of thing, or and he, no, I appreciate every minute that I get in a racing car. He knows, he is in the twilight of his career, whichever way you look at it. I mean, he could go on till he's 50, maybe, I don't know. But I mean, he is enjoying this. This is an Indian summer kind of experience for him. He's at the sharp end. He's in a Ferrari. He's in Monaco. He's got all his friends, and he's loving driving and looking like he's found that mojo again.
He outqualified Charles Leclerc, the home hero, who had a bit of a qualifying to forget, pushing hard in the final stages. One person we haven't mentioned is George Russell, the man who sits second in the championship, Damon. He's all the way down in sixth, and at a bit of a loss to explain the deficit to his teammate Antonelli.
Yeah, it's not been the dream start. I mean, I think you have to look back and say he's had some bad luck. He's definitely dropped some points. Probably Canada is the most obvious recent one, where he possibly just dropped a win and could have closed the gap on Kimi. But This weekend, at least here, he didn't manage to hook up the car, and he's saying he doesn't like the feel of the car. Now that can be something that could be psychological as well sometimes, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that there's something he's going to work on to try and get with his engineers so that he works out why he's not getting the car to key to the track surface. He was complaining of lack of grip the whole time.
Yeah, it was a really interesting development yesterday, because Russell finally sort of admitted out loud what's been beginning to develop in everybody's minds in Formula One over the last 2 or 3 races, in that he's just basically not on Antonelli's level at the moment. And it's quite an interesting contrast with Lando Norris last year. From the second race on, Lando Norris, after he won the first race, just as Russell did, Norris straight away admitted, I'm not quite getting on with this car, I need to work at it, the team need to help me. McLaren were very open about that, but it's taken till Monaco, and obviously what was quite a big blow for him in qualifying yesterday, for Russell to finally admit what already looked like the case in Canada, actually, even though he got on pole position, and it looked like the case in Miami, the race before that. Before Miami, actually, he was looking about as quick as Antonelli, but certainly since then he's been struggling.
Right, thank you. We'll chat more about the grid, but let's head back down to it. Rosanna, where have you found yourself?
Harry, it's absolutely impossible to move on this grid. I've worked quite a few grids in my time. This is the busiest I've ever seen. It is just not moving. People are stuck. But I've managed to find a wonderful vantage point where I can see our pole sitter, Kimi Antonelli, who's been busy getting ready, putting on his balaclava. Now he's got his race helmet on, having a chat with his race engineer, Peter Bonington. That's to my right. Then as I look to my left, a much cooler Max Verstappen, nowhere near putting his helmet on just yet. He's got a cooling vest on. He's just holding that against his rib cage now, with both of his hands pressing it flat against his chest, and now he's taking that off. His trainer Rupert is ready with the umbrella over the 4-time world champion. Max still has his cap on. He's now starting to pull up his overalls, just adjusting the sleeves on his heat proofs underneath, and he's just about to start putting his radio on and to get ready to get into the Red Bull. So preparations underway, but it is mighty hot down here on the grid and incredibly busy.
Lots of pressure to soak up for our 22 drivers then as they make their final preparations to get into their Formula One cars. We'll take a slight pause then here in Monaco with the Grand Prix just under 10 minutes time, lights out. Join us for that right back here on 5 Live, but for now I'll throw it back to Katie Smith at Roland Garros.
Harry, thank you so much. So back to the streets of Monte Carlo shortly. We, though, are here in the southwest of Paris. Select Sports Extra for uninterrupted commentary of the Monaco Grand Prix. That is Sports Extra 3. Here on 5 Live, we're going to keep you updated with the tennis. But let's head now to the commentary of the Monaco Grand Prix. We'll be back with the tennis at the end of this. We are going to our team now on the streets of Monte Carlo. Rosanna Tennant, Damon Hill and Harry Benjamin.
Thanks very much, Katie. Welcome back to Monaco. Just a few minutes away then from lights out for the 6th Grand Prix of the year. The harbour is packed full with the super yachts. The sun is shining and glistens off the Mediterranean as final checks are underway for our 22 drivers before we go racing. Alongside me is the 1996 F1 World Champ Damon Hill. A man, Damon, who has been on pole position here. You know what it's like to sit in the wheel tracks where Kimi Antonelli is right now. He's never won the Monaco Grand Prix before, but he's coming in with 4 consecutive race wins on the trot, but he sits alongside a man who's a 4-time champion and a 2-time winner around these streets, Max Verstappen. How do you deal with that if you're 19 years of age?
And he's got 2 Monaco experts also breathing down his neck. Right behind him, Charles Leclerc obviously nearly got pole position yesterday, but he unfortunately overdid it on the way through on the last lap. But he's super quick round here, and the Ferrari is a fast starter, so there is a slim chance that you might see a red car slipping past one of these 2 front row guys.
Not long to wait until we find out. Now look, we know overtaking is difficult here, but it can be done. Pit stop strategy as well, usually a one-stop race, but there is always a chance of a safety car, always a chance of some form of incident that could impact the order of this race. Expecting a one-stop, the majority of the drivers starting on the medium tyre. But look, Monaco is a race like no other. The streets are narrow, the barriers are waiting, and track position is everything. Ferrari have looked strong, Leclerc has the home crowd behind him, but they find themselves starting behind a Mercedes and a Red Bull. Around here, one perfect lap, one perfect start, or one small mistake can change it all. Can McLaren find a way through? Will Monaco deliver another fairy tale for Max Verstappen, or a dream come true for Kimi Antonelli? It's just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in Monaco. Coming up to 2 p.m, it's time for the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's take you through the grid then from back to front, and the back row is occupied by the two Aston Martins. Lance Stroll in 22nd behind his teammate Fernando Alonso. Valtteri Bottas in the Cadillac starts from 20th, just behind Oliver Behrman's Haas in 19th. Sergio Perez is 18th for Cadillac, with Esteban Ocon in the other Haas 17th. It looks like there'll be a gap where Bortoletto in the Audi should be in 16th. Troubles for him, therefore no 16th on the grid. We go to Arvid Lindblad in 15th behind Franco Colapinto's Alpine. Nico Hülkenberg starts the top 13 for his Audi. Carlos Sainz behind his Williams teammate Albon in 11th. Liam Lawson into the top 10 with Racing Bulls behind Alpine's Pierre Gasly. The two McLarens down in 8th and 7th. Norris behind Piastri. Then comes George Russell in 6th behind Red Bull's Isaac Hadjar. Charles Leclerc from 4th, and your top 3 is Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, and the front row occupied by Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli on pole. As they make their way on the formation lap now, we've got 78 laps coming your way here on 5 Live. But if tennis is your thing, coverage of the French Open final is over on Sports Extra 2. We'll also have updates from Roland Garros over the course of the next couple of hours here on 5 Live. Elsewhere, earlier today in cricket, England sealed the win against New Zealand on the 4th day of the first test at Lord's, winning by 115 runs to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. But right now, all focus is on the start of this Monaco Grand Prix. Damon Hill, the 1996 Formula 1 World Champion, is alongside me in the commentary box. What are you expecting to see from this first lap, Damon?
Well, right now I'm trying to deal with the adrenaline. I was talking to a previous winner, Juan Pablo Montoya, earlier, and he was saying this is the place where he felt more nervous on the grid than any other, and so I do know what he meant. It's a particularly difficult one. You've got to back the rest of the squad and the grid behind you. So we got Kimi on the grid now. He's done his warm-up lap. He's got a little bit of traction on those tyres, and they're all lining up. But his adrenaline levels will be through the roof. I mean, it's so difficult to feel what's going on when you've got that much adrenaline pumping.
The adrenaline is high, keeping us informed. Our eyes and ears down on the ground. Rosanna Tennant.
Oh, the harbour is full to the brim with boats. The boats are full to the brim with fans. As I look up into the hills, all the balconies of the apartments are full to bursting. Everybody is ready to watch the start of the Monaco Grand Prix. Excitement's really building down here, Harry.
It's a 159-metre down from pole to turn 1. Starts have not been Kimi Antonelli's friend so far. He's been waiting there for a while on the right-hand side of the grid, positioned for the inside line down at Saint-Devote. Max Verstappen pointing his Red Bull nose at the Mercedes man. It's all eyes to the lights and foot to the floor as we go racing in Monaco. And it's a slow start for Max Verstappen, who barely gets going. Antonelli holds the lead. Charles Leclerc flying up through the ranks as well. Lewis Hamilton with a good start for Ferrari takes second as Max Verstappen just about gets going, but falls all the way to the back of the field. He had to peel to the side to avoid getting collected as they make their way up through Massenet into Casino Square. It curves left, it turns right, but it was what Kimi Antonelli needed as he leads, heading down into Mirabeau and the hairpin.
Oh my God, that was a bit of a shock, wasn't it? Max just didn't move until, and then we got one of the Ferraris. It was predicted that one of them would get the jump, but I mean, they were certainly helped by Max's car. Just seemed to be stalling on the start.
Max has got going, but he's going awfully slowly, coming into the hairpin now. Good starts then for the two Ferraris, see them up into second and third thanks to Max Verstappen's poor start. Antonelli leads, Hamilton, Leclerc, Hadjar in fourth. George Russell's up to fifth, with Oscar Piastri making a good start up into sixth. Gasly's flown up the order ahead of Lando Norris in 7th. So Norris not making gains on the first lap. Liam Lawson and Alex Albon make up the top 10. Max Verstappen has fallen all the way to the back of the field. Gabriel Bortoleto did get going from the pit lane. So we still have 22 cars in this field. Here is Verstappen on the radio.
What should I do? Just bring it home, please, Max.
Is that a bring it home from Gianpiero Lambiase to the pit lane for Max Verstappen, who is going slowly, or can he get back into this race and bring it home to the checkered flag?
He's breaking the sad news to Max that he's just going to have to keep on ploughing on through the rest of the cars that are ahead of him. He will make progress, but he's not going to see the front of this race unless something really dramatic happens. But Kimi Antonelli, that was a dream start for him. He did manage to get the car off the line. And Lewis also, as we predicted, one of the Ferraris made a great start and opportunity arose with them, with Max Verstappen not getting off the line. But nevertheless, this is now a tactical race. The question is, what will the pace do? I was quite surprised to see that none of the front runners gambled on a soft tyre. They've all gone on medium tyres. There's one or two guys on soft tyres. Sergio Perez is on soft tyres, but that's a strange strategy. I mean, you'd think that you'd gamble to get past a car at the very start by using soft tyres, but they haven't done that, so this is going to be a long first stint for everyone.
Max Verstappen has made his way back to the pits. I think that is to retire his Red Bull with some sort of technical issues. Some pit stops at the end of that first lap for those right at the back of the pack. Oliver Behrman in the Haas, the British 19-year-old, has come into the pits. He's put on the hard tyre along with the Audi of Gabriel Bortoleto, who came in, who started this race from the pit lane. Bottas in the Cadillac has swapped as well and changed tyres. Also looked like Behrman might have picked up some damage on his front wing. So there could be some strategy at play when it comes to getting an undercut. That's coming in before the car ahead of you and making use of fresher tyres. That can get you a gain, but at this stage it's too early for that. They might have been hoping for some sort of safety car intervention.
So Harry, I think Behrman and the others, but particularly keep an eye on Behrman, he'll be going to the end now on that set of tyres. That'll be the plan. So let's see how far up the field he can get. Meanwhile, Kimi Antonelli pulled out a 2.9 second lead on that first lap. He's left Lewis Hamilton for dead.
He certainly has. Now 3.3 seconds for Antonelli, who is making his way out of the tunnel as we speak, as Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are halfway through it. Lap 3 of 78 here in Monte Carlo. Our pole sitter leads. Kimi Antonelli, Hamilton, Leclerc, Hadjar is 4th, Russell is 5th, Piastri sits 6th. The closest battle right now is Pierre Gasly trying to keep Lando Norris behind. An update from race control. George Russell has been noted for being out of position and being flagged for a false start. They'll be looking at that at race control. If that gets elevated, we'll let you know. But usually if you're out of position, that's a fairly slam dunk penalty, which would rather ruin George Russell's already half miserable Monaco weekend. But the closest battle right now is behind Russell, between Gasly and Norris. Gasly keeping the McLaren man behind for 7th right now, with Lawson and Albon making up the top 10. Sainz is 11th, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Perez is up to 14th, using those soft tyres to take advantage at the start. Lindblad, Ocon is 16th, then Alonso was 17th. He's just come in for a pit stop. Stroll now moves up into 17th, with our first pit stop as Bottas, Bortoleto and Behrman making up the rear of the field. But the big news, Max Verstappen, a poor getaway off the line and out of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Well, apologies, Harry. I thought meant bringing it on home meant, got to finish the race, but it literally was. There's obviously more conversation going on there. Something's gone wrong with the system there in the car, and they knew they had to retire it, so he's out. But miserable Monaco Grand Prix for Max. But up the front, we're just going to be watching this gap. Antonelli has done a fantastic job of getting away and making a bit of a gap. Then he'll have to start managing his tyres, because the whole game here is to go as long as possible and see if you can just get a little bit more of a window for your pit stop, which they have to make to the cars behind. So Hamilton will be making sure that he doesn't overcook his tyres in chasing Kimi Antonelli. So the gap itself, we'll just watch that as we go through this race. We're only done lap 5, 78 laps in total, so a long way to go yet.
Yeah, if you started on the medium tyre, Pirelli, the tyre supplier, predicting if you're going to do a one-stop and go onto the hard tyre, you want to try and make it to around about lap 33 to lap 39. So we'll see how long Kimi Antonelli holds on for. We're getting another look at the start, Damon. Max Verstappen did initially get away and then just almost came to a complete halt and had to move to the left-hand side to get out of the way of the onslaught of cars coming quickly behind.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very dramatic moment. I mean, because cars round the back of you at the start of this Monaco Grand Prix. It's slightly curved, so Charles Leclerc had to make his way round Max, who didn't get off the line, and Lewis had a bit more of a clear run at getting past him. But, you know, it's always a worry when you...
Nice. Completely. Guys, what the man?
That was Max Verstappen, his reaction to getting away slowly off the line. Verstappen has been one of the most vocal drivers in this new engine regulation era of Formula One, not happy with the amount of electrical versus internal combustion, as we're getting a look at here of George Russell and his onboard from the start. And was he out of position? Lando Norris on the radio behind him.
Yeah, so Lando's actually called him out. So, but I mean, all of them had a bit of a squeeze. Lando Norris had to move across. I think it was Gasly on his right, but I mean, he's trying to go around the outside, the opening lap of his teammate, and Pierre Gasly gets him back going up the hill. But I mean, all of them had to avoid Max, which was no mean feat, to get across past Max and not collide with someone else. So well done everyone for not having a pile up at the start.
George Russell can breathe a sigh of release for that false start. Was under investigation, and now no further investigation on that front for George Russell's false start. So he gets away with that one, and another one's just popped up, but it's for Sergio Perez, a false start and being out of position. Perez down in 16th at the moment, who has come in after his fast start on the soft tyre, and it's done him well actually, because he's jumped the likes of Alonso and Stroll.
Well, that's very interesting tactic, isn't it? He's come in, he's already put his medium on. Is he going to go all the way to the end on one set of tyres now?
Well, conversely, Alonso and Stroll came in early as well, and they reversed to going back on the soft tyre. So interesting to see how that's playing out, but that's not for points, it's mainly for pride further back. Lap 7 of 78, Antonelli now nearly 4 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari. A few seconds behind is Charles Leclerc. Then comes Isaac Hadjar, and the now sole remaining Red Bull. George Russell is 5th, Piastri is 6th. Gasly still keeping Norris behind for 7th and 8th, with Lawson and Albon the top 10. Nico Hülkenberg is currently trying to hunt down Carlos Sainz at 11th place. Colapinto sits behind in 13th, with Lindblad and Ocon the top 15. Then everybody else at the back has pitted early. Cadillac's Perez and Bottas, they're in 16th and 19th. They are just bookmarking the two Aston Martins, who also stopped onto the soft tyre. Alonso 17th, Stroll 18th, with Bortoleto from the pit lane early pit stop 20th. Behrman early pit stop as well. Looked like he might have got some damage too. He's 21st and last of the order, with Max Verstappen out of this Grand Prix. This is the sound of Lando Norris, who I think is going to rather struggle now to get past Pierre Gasly. And that is the main opportune moment, isn't it, which Gasly made clear to take, getting up alongside him in the run-up towards Casino Square. Now he has that track position. It's going to become very difficult for Norris now to make a move on track.
Now, Harry, that last lap, not the one that's just been, but the one before that, was the first lap of the race, and actually now the only lap of the race that Kimi Antonelli hasn't pulled out a substantial gap on Lewis Hamilton. He's now 4.5 seconds in front after 7 laps. Now, as Damon said, normally in the Pirelli era of Formula 1, these Monaco Grand Prix have been people managing their tyres at the front, holding up the field, and then starting to extend the gap as they get closer to the pit stop period. But at the moment, it's almost as if Antonelli's just going, stuff that, I'm just going to go as far ahead as I can, and I can pit my pit stop whenever I want. I don't know that that's the case. It would be very unusual if it was, but it certainly looks like it from his pace at the moment.
Well, no doubt we will be hearing information from his engineer, Pete Bonington, if he thinks that Kimi needs to slow down a bit. Of course, telling a driver to slow down a little bit and not push on has fateful consequences to even the best of them, doesn't it, Andrew?
Ayrton Senna did that in 1988. He had a 50-second lead over Alain Prost, his teammate at McLaren, after Prost had been held up by Gerhard Berger's Ferrari for most of the race. He was told to slow down Senna, and he crashed at Portier. Yeah, I just saw Valtteri Bottas, who had a problem with the Cadillac, seemed to be having trouble with their brakes, and was it Bottas who caught fire?
It was both Cadillacs, actually.
Both Cadillacs. So, you know, what could change things if one of those Cadillacs stops out on the track and they have to bring out a safety car?
Yeah, that is a possibility that everybody will be monitoring. There's about a 29% chance of a safety car, 43% chance of a virtual safety car around the streets of the Principality, and both Cadillacs struggling out there at the moment. Valtteri Bottas reporting power issues too. He's down in 19th. Perez a little better, up in 16th spot. Bortoleto is behind them down in 20th. He was late, couldn't get out of the pit lane to take a grid slot, which would have been 16th, having had a crash crash at the end of Q1 yesterday as well, so a long afternoon for the Brazilian down at Audi. Still the closest fight though is Pierre Gasly holding on to 7th place ahead of Lando Norris, and Norris trying to find an opportunity but just dropping back as they come through the right hand of Portier and head into the darkness of the tunnel. If you get close, there's a chance down the inside of the Nouvelle chicane, but you really have to have quite a significant advantage to make that work. Up and over at Anthony Nogues round the final corner as he begins lap 10 is the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli, 5.5 seconds out in front, looking cool, calm and collected.
Looking very cool, as he has done all weekend, but this is a very different discipline, actually racing around here and leading a Monaco Grand Prix to qualifying it. Qualifying, you have to really, stick your neck out and take a lot of risk, but this is the game of managing risk. He will want to not go... He doesn't want to get that gap any closer. He wants to eke out if he can, but the problem is if you're driving at 9 tenths, you sometimes can lose concentration. It's such a long way. We've done 10 laps, and he's sitting pretty at the moment, you have to say, but this is another little test for the potential world champion Kimi Antonelli. I'm sure he's going to not have too much trouble with this at the moment. It doesn't look like there is an answer from Hamilton or Ferrari, but then 5 seconds can be closed up if they decide to push in the next few laps and close that gap up.
Hearing action in the pit lane, Esteban Ocon has just come in from 16th spot. Bad news for Sergio Perez in the Cadillac. He has been given a drive-through penalty, which he serves now for his full start and being out of position. So that is rather a pain for Cadillac down now in 18th and 19th. Ocon pitting onto the hard tyre for Haas and coming out in 15th spot. Rather frustrated yesterday after qualifying was the Frenchman. Both Haas drivers, neither making it through into Q2.
Yeah, it's a little bit lackluster recently for Haas. Obviously a Ferrari-powered car, but they've not been able to enjoy things that the kind of competitiveness that they showed last year. But there's a lot of competition in Formula One. A lot of teams have brought upgrades, and that gap just continues to get bigger and bigger every time someone does that.
Lap 11 of 78 of the Monaco Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli leads by 4.3 seconds. Come down slightly, actually, in the last lap or so. But are we getting into that management phase? The other thing to note for Antonelli is that the further he pulls away, he'll catch traffic quicker than the others, and he'll have to navigate that as quick as he can. And it's a lot easier said than done around Monaco.
It is, but it tends to come out in the wash. I think it depends where you get them, and it depends whether they're cooperative and they respond to blue flags in the right way. We're watching a replay now of Sergio Perez off the line, or going to the grid, I beg your pardon. Yeah, so he was got an infringement for wrongly aligning at the grid. Let's have a look. He's sort of seems to be okay where he is.
No, I think he's accidentally pulled into 16th spot where Bortoletto should have been. That's what he's done. He started 2 places higher than he qualified.
He was absolutely perfectly positioned within the grid box. It was just the wrong one.
It was just the complete wrong one. Because Bortoletto started from the pit lane in the end. So that is, a fairly slam dunk one for Sergio Perez, who is now still with that drive-through penalty. Actually, he's come out ahead of his teammate down in 18th. Bottas 19th. Up front though, 4.7 seconds the gap between Antonelli and Hamilton. Leclerc 3rd, Hadjar 4th, Russell 5th, Piastri rounds out the top 6 with Gasly still ahead of Norris by just about a second in 7th and 8th. Lawson and Albon the top 10. They are your current point scorers.
Yeah, a little bit of ebb and flowing going on here. I'm not sure if Kimi's struggling to find his rhythm or whether Lewis has put a push on. But Lewis currently, the last lap he did was quicker than Kimi Antonelli's, but it's hovering around 4.3 as the gap. And even 4 seconds if you look at Charles, is actually about 4 seconds back from Lewis. It may well be that he decided they need a bit of clear air, keeps your tyres working. You want to go long here, and so it may well be that's a tactical move, and they're just watching the gap.
It's the sound of Charles Leclerc. Heartbreak for the home heroes yesterday as he overtakes the Cadillac of Sergio Perez. Leclerc, who came into this weekend as one of the favourites for pole position, in the end had to settle for 4th after touching the wall in the final lap, really pushing that Ferrari, struggling with the brakes still on that Ferrari car is Charles Leclerc, a one-time winner around these streets that he grew up on as he heads down into Mirabeau, the right-hander.
Yeah, I don't blame him for what he did in qualifying. He gave it absolutely everything. There's always a massive risk. We're watching the onboard footage of him going around the Fairmont hairpin there, and actually to get round the hairpin, he needs to take his hand off the steering wheel and put it on the same hand that's doing the other work on the other side of the steering wheel. So he's crossing his arms over just to get round the hairpin.
Yeah, nowhere else do you have to do that on the calendar. In fact, if Monaco was being prepositioned to be a racetrack on the calendar now, it wouldn't pass any of the FIA tests, such as the prestige of this Monte Carlo circuit. As noise from the pit lane, Nico Hülkenberg in the Audi has just pitted and come back out down in 14th spot, so fairly early pit stop from the Hulk, who was also another disappointed not to qualify inside the top 10 yesterday. Felt like they had the pace to do it, but rather plateaued throughout qualifying and had to unfortunately deal with the consequences of starting further down, as traffic now starts to play its part as the front runners begin to overtake the likes of the Cadillacs and the Bortoletto Audi down in 20th. Meanwhile, up front, lap 14 of 78, Antonelli 3.8 second lead over Hamilton. Then comes Leclerc, further 4 seconds back. Hadjar is 4th. This is the sound of George Russell in 5th. And I think for Russell, Damon, he just needs to bag some decent points today, and does he need to forget about this weekend a bit and move on?
He knows what he needs to do. He needs to have a good race here, and if he can get a point, if he can get extra point by getting past Hadjar, I think that's the most he can hope for. You never know. In a pit stop, if they manage to get him in strategy and pit stop, and he's close enough to Izzat Hadjar, it's possible that he can get one more place up the grid and then close up on Charles at the end. Anyway, whatever. If he can get a 4th rather than a 5th, then every little bit helps.
It's a real test of patience, though, isn't it, here? Because, Russell's now within a second of Hadjar, but where do you make the move? Norris has been following Gasly. He's now half a second away and has been throughout the last 5 laps or so.
Harry, we all know what it's like when we have to sit behind a car that's a bit slower than us.
I can't do it.
And sometimes, we see people driving around London in Ferraris and stuff. I don't know why they do it. I mean, you can't go fast. You have to sit there. So that's the feeling at Monaco. Is you're going, I know I can go much faster than this, but I can't get past him. Where am I going to get past him? But I think, George is a feisty driver. I think he's going to give Izzat a bit of a hard time here. He's getting closer all the time.
Yeah, and Hadjar, who has not had a particularly enjoyable weekend, had a big crash on Friday in his Red Bull, which required a fairly big clean-up job from the team, recovering ever since.
Copy.
Was Hamilton reporting a lot of degradation on his tyres, particularly the rears. A bit too hot for his liking. Last lap around for Hamilton, he's currently in second for Ferrari, was a 16.9, compared that to a 17.2 for Antonelli, a 17.1 for Leclerc, so he's actually going quicker than those around him.
Yeah, I've often felt with Lewis that sometimes he throws out a little bit of a kind of radio message that is misleading.
Yeah, red herring.
Red herring is the word I was looking for. The phrase I was looking for. I was going to use MacGuffin, but that's from movies, isn't it? But anyway, yeah.
I don't know what that is at all, Damon, I'm afraid.
Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned MacGuffin, but anyway, done it now. Here he is, he's saying, my car's not good. Well, how many times have I heard Lewis Hamilton say that and he's won the race?
Yeah, at the moment, he has closed that gap down, which was about 5.5 seconds in the first few laps of this race. Now sitting at around 3 seconds, but how much is Antonelli just managing his tyres and pace? Meanwhile, further back of the pack, Alex Albon locking up his front right tyre for Williams, coming down into the Nouvelle chicane, and rather than forcing the matter, decides to cut the chicane, slow down, and holds on to 10th place, which would be rather crucial for Alex Albon at this stage of the game, off the back of a really rather horrendous Canada last time out. Alex Albon currently with only 1 point to his name scored in Miami versus his teammate, who's had a few 9th place finishes so far. Carlos Sainz sits 13th in the Drivers' Championship. Alex Albon down in 17th, rather highlighting Williams' disappointment this year.
Hadjar has front down grain and he won't be out for much longer, I don't think.
Just make sure you've got good tyres when he does get out of the way.
It's George Russell giving us some good tyre info there. He's been looking at Izzat Hadjar's tyres, and they're looking a little bit rough, according to him.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways of getting past someone at Monaco, pretty much like any Grand Prix, but it's particularly crucial here because you can't overtake on track. You can either undercut someone, which means has some radio from Hadjar.
No rear, no fronts, nothing.
Yeah,
copy everything. Tyres over peak.
Yeah, so he's saying he's got no grip front or rear. So you can either pit first and use the grip of new tyres to gain time, or you can pit after and use your tyres because you think you've got extra pace already and gain time that way. And that's what Mercedes are talking about with Russell. Wait for Hadjar to pit and then goes to their pace and get past him. By the way, a MacGuffin, in case you're interested, is an object, device or event that's necessary to the plot and the motivation of the characters, but insignificant, unimportant or irrelevant in itself. So red herring was the correct word.
I think, red herring's the right one. Where does that come? We won't go into that. Where's that coming from anyway?
Thank goodness we have the BBC's F1 correspondent Andrew Benson on hand to find that kind of information out live on air.
I never thought we were talking about herrings in the middle of the Monaco Grand Prix anyway. But I also saw a message that Kimi is managing brake temperatures, apparently. So we'll watch that one.
Yeah, the gap is still sitting around about 3 seconds between Antonelli and Hamilton as we're getting a slow-mo of Isaac Hadjar and getting a proper look, David, at that front left tyre, looking worse for wear.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It's got a lovely strip on the inside shoulder of the left front, which it happens when the tyre sort of cuts rather than melts. And so it may be that it's just not getting the heat into the tyre, and it's starting to cut the tyre, and then it sort of, you get a steamroller or a snowball effect of that. It gets worse and worse and worse.
We need to call the car and box this lap is a radio message that's just come in from Cadillac to Valtteri Bottas, so that sounds like a retirement impending for the Finnish driver down at Cadillac.
So that information about Antonelli's brakes that Damon just gave us was really interesting, because he was streaking away out front and then he suddenly slowed his pace and he's now managing Hamilton. The gap's come down from over 5 seconds to now just over 3 with those rear brake temperatures that he's got. That's not uncommon in Monaco in a race. In fact, it led to a big argument here between the McLaren drivers. Here's Russell.
George, how much pace would you have in clear air?
At least 1 second, I think.
George Russell being asked by his engineer Marcus Dudley, how much pace would you have if you didn't have anyone in front of you? He thinks he'd go a second quicker.
Yeah, so there was a big argument at McLaren after the race between Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton back in 2007, because Hamilton hadn't paid attention to team orders to back off and manage his brake temperatures when Alonso in front had. But that's explaining why Antonelli's not streaking away anymore, and now he's got to do the more typical Monaco control race and make sure he keeps Hamilton at arm's length so that Hamilton can't undercut him with a pit stop.
Yeah, he's just tipped that gap back up to below 4 seconds now as Antonelli from Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc sitting a little bit on his own really in third. Hadjar is fourth with George Russell, who've been hearing, right behind him. Oscar Piastri in the first of the McLarens, a bit in no man's land in sixth, and then the sound of Lando Norris chasing up the hill from Saint-Devote into Casino Square, still looking at the rear end of Pierre Gasly.
Oh my god, the engine braking is a joke. What's happening?
We're investigating.
Yeah, something wrong. First gear, man, it's not usable.
First gear not usable, engine braking issues for Hadjar. He's not happy out there in the sole remaining Red Bull. I wonder if that has any kind of relation to what happened to Max Verstappen, who is out of this race. Actually, the sole remaining Red Bull is looking really under pressure right now as they fly through the first part of the second pull chicane, of the swing pull chicane. Right then left, bouncing over the curves, heading into Raskas. A right-hander, Russell all over the back of Hadjar. Hadjar, I think, might be wanting to try and come into the pits ASAP, but he needs to try and stay out a little bit longer if he's to make his strategy work. But his tyres and his engine are not playing ball so far. Into Saint-Devote we go again, and Hadjar has the track advantage still. The battle for fourth and fifth continues.
Yeah, well, the difference at Monaco that they've made for this race is that you can't use the straight line mode with the aero. There's no DRS as well, so he's well within 1 second, but he can use overtake mode, so he gets a little bit more power along the straights that George does.
Mode 6. We're looking into it, mate. We're looking into it.
Also, the power is down. The power.
Isaac Hadjar with power issues there. We'll talk more about that. It's lap 20 of 78 here at the Monaco Grand Prix. But let's get a check-in at the French Open final. Let's head to Roland Garros with David Law.
Yeah, they look faster.
I think I'll come to you as soon as I have a solution. I'll come to you.
continued updates from Roland Garros right here on 5 Live from the tennis team out at the French Open. But lap 21 here of 78 for the Monaco Grand Prix, and the sole remaining Red Bull is struggling out there. Isaac Hadjar in 4th. Let's hear from him again.
Something is going to explode.
Wow.
The engine is not healthy right now.
Okay, we can see the issue, we're working on a fix. We can see it, we're working on a fix.
Hadjar and his engine not happy. Ford, along with Red Bull themselves, building an engine together for this year, running it for the first time in these new regulations, and Russell is all over the back of him. Hadjar doesn't have a teammate in this race. Max Verstappen retiring at the end of the first lap after a poor start. Speaking in the pen now with Rosanna Tennant.
Max, what was the problem that you faced on the grid?
We think there was an engine problem. A bit hard to know at the moment what it was exactly. They have to open it up. But it's painful for us. We had a really good weekend up until now, and to come away with 0 points is not what we want.
Did you have any indication on the formation lap, anything that was happening?
The formation lap already was a bit off, I would say, in terms of power delivery. But then the big problem was during the pre-start when the lights were on. It was not finding the pre-start already because the engine just kept going up and down in RPM, which is very weird. And after that it dropped dead, and that was it.
Bad luck.
Rosanna there with Max Verstappen out of this race, having started it from the front row in second. Damon.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is reminiscent of so many Monacos where you've got a faster car behind, it just cannot get past. George's frustration will be going through the roof. He has to sit there lap after lap with a guy who's struggling with an engine problem. He's got graining on his left front, and George knows he's quicker. He just can't find a way to get past. And then this is where, a little bit of impetuosity, a little bit of impatience can be very costly, but it's hurting George enormously right now. But we've seen some terrific races. Well, one I'm reminded of is Nigel Mansell behind Ayrton Senna, who tried everything to get past. They had a way quicker and faster car, but Ayrton Senna held him up for ages, as Isaac Hadjar is doing now as they come down with the Nouvelle chicane, putting his car in the middle of the track. They're coming out to the Nouvelle chicane, and George is all over the back of this car, but he just can't find a way past.
Yeah, that Mansell-Senna situation, which is in, here's some more Hadjar radio.
Yeah, Isaac, currently there's no fix. We are still working on a solution. Currently there's no fix. Head down.
Yeah, so basically Mansell was leading the race by a country mile, had to come into the pits. It turned out there wasn't actually a problem when they thought there was. He put on fresh tyres. The car was 5 seconds a lap faster than Senna, and he still couldn't get past. That's how difficult it is to overtake.
Even back then, with smaller cars as well.
Actually, they were bigger cars then in '92. They were 210 centimetres wide then, whereas these are down to 190 this year from 200 last year.
Most of that was tyre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But one of the problems they've got, of course, with George, you think if he can go faster, bring him in, put him in on new tyres, but he's going to come out right into traffic and slower cars further down the grid. I think he'll come out behind Norris or Lawson even if he does that.
Lap 23 of 78 here in Monaco. Kimi Antonelli leads now by 7.3 seconds over Lewis Hamilton, extending his lead over the Ferrari driver. Leclerc is third. The battle for fourth is on, with a struggling Hadjar keeping the Mercedes of Russell behind for now. Oscar Piastri sits sixth, and Gasly seventh. Lando Norris is stuck behind the Frenchman in eighth in his McLaren, with Liam Lawson and Alex Albon the top 10. Don't forget, the French Open final at Roland Garros is underway. We'll bring you updates as that happens right here on 5 Live, or you can listen to it uninterrupted over on Sports Extra. Elsewhere earlier today in the cricket, England sealed the win against New Zealand on the fourth day of the first test at Lords. They won by 115 to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. But right now, you're listening to coverage of the Monaco Grand Prix as Charles Leclerc, the home hero, decides not to make the Nouvelle chicane and cuts the corner and goes on his merry way. Damon Hill.
Yeah, while we've been talking about George Russell, Kimi Antonelli has been eking out a 7-second lead, and now it's 8 seconds, I beg your pardon. And Charles has dropped back from Lewis as well, so he's probably frustrated. That may be why he went straight on. He's probably not happy with his car like he was in Canada. But
Leclerc's been complaining about brake problems all weekend. That's what he thought was holding him back for pace in qualifying. It was the same in Canada 2 weeks ago, Damon, as you were saying. And we just saw an example of what that might be at the chicane. He didn't get the car turned in, basically, and had to skip over the runoff area. but he's struggling for pace compared to Hamilton this weekend, Leclerc, which is unusual for him around Monaco with any teammate. But then it is Lewis Hamilton after all. But then, of course, last year Leclerc very much had Hamilton under control. That's not the case this year with these new cars.
Lando Norris still stuck behind Pierre Gasly. Sorry, Damon, just while we watch one driver stuck behind another in the form of Russell and Hadjar, Norris continues to get close to the back of Gasly, and then, much like his compatriot Russell, cannot find a way past.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the difference between drivers' styles. I mean, I do feel like when they had the Venturi ground effect cars of last year and the previous 4 or 5 years, Lewis was a little bit in a straitjacket, and now I see him driving, and he's able to hustle the car a little bit more like it's a go-kart, and I think this may well also be why George is having a little bit of trouble with these cars compared to Kimi. Maybe I don't know exactly, but it certainly is a factor that some drivers prefer a particular type of cars handling to others, and once you're set in stone with a particular type of cars. We're watching George really having a go now at Isaac Hadjar as they're coming out of the tunnel, looking one way and then the other. He's so close, nearly touches as they come out of the new chicane, going down to the back now, looking all over the back of the car and trying his best to get Isaac to make a mistake.
Russell almost pushing Hadjar out of the Nouvelle chicane. Hadjar defending as well. He's not going to roll over and just let Russell by, despite Hadjar managing issues on board his Red Bull. The Frenchman in his first season at Red Bull, his second year as a Formula One driver, having been promoted from the Racing Bulls team last year, got a magnificent podium at the Dutch Grand Prix after, well, a retirement from Lando Norris saw him promoted, but Hadjar is quick. Red Bull know it, and right now, having had a tough start to this weekend with a heavy crash in practice, is doing a good job of putting that Red Bull in all the right places.
Yeah, and this is a film we've seen before, isn't it, with a Red Bull managing a problem, which was Daniel Ricciardo. What year was that, Andrew? I can't remember, but it was
2018, I think.
Yeah, and he just did the whole Grand Prix, managing all these problems, and not letting people past him to win the Grand Prix.
And managed to hold on. Meanwhile, out in front, Antonelli, almost a second quicker over the last few laps than Lewis Hamilton. That gap has gone up to 10.4 seconds. Is that Antonelli starting to get on it a little bit more? Is that Hamilton now starting to manage a little bit more? Charles Leclerc is about 3.9 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. We'll see how that one plays out. Lap 27 of 78 as Russell continues to count down to close in, I should say, on the Red Bull of Isaac Hadjar. We'll just take them to the final corner and see if Russell can find any kind of traction out of Anthony Nogues, and it will be one by one down to Sander Vogt. We'll see how this fight plays out, playing out on court right now. Let's head back to the French Open with David Law. Coverage continues over on Sports Extra right here on 5 Live. It is the Monaco Grand Prix, lap 27 of 78. Kimi Antonelli for Mercedes from pole leads the Grand Prix by 11 seconds over Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari. Charles Leclerc is third, with Hadjar in fourth, being hunted down by George Russell in the Mercedes. Oscar Piastri sixth, with Pierre Gasly in seventh, keeping Lando Norris behind in eighth. Lawson and Albon are your point scorers as Hadjar can't get it turned into the first part of the Nouvelle chicane, has to cut the corner. George Russell will be straight on the radio about that, having to leave the track to hold his position. Will Hadjar be asked to give that position away now to George Russell? Was that the chink in the armour that Russell has been looking for?
Yeah, it's only so many times you can do that and get away with it, because otherwise it's seen as a tactical move to keep the guy behind.
That's a last-in advantage, so he can't keep it on the track. He needs to give the position up. Copy. He's just out braking himself, so he's got no tyres.
And on cue, there was the radio message. Isaac Hadjar, he's gained a lasting advantage deemed by race control. He may well be asked to give that position away to Isaac Hadjar. Pit stops could be impending here. We're looking around, if he starts on the medium tyre, going to around 33 to 39 in terms of laps, from 28 at the moment. Under a green flag, you lose just under 20 seconds for a pit stop. If you can do it under a safety car, if anything happens, it's half that. And on cue, Lewis Hamilton is told to box from second place. Hamilton is into the pits for Ferraris. He heads down into his grid spot, hits his markers. The Ferrari team get to work. All 4 wheels replaced. The mediums are gone. The hard tyres go on. Leclerc moves up into second, and Hamilton should be able to get out ahead of Hadjar, who is just coming into the second part of the swimming pool chicane now.
Well, this is going to be very interesting. They'll get information of what sort of pace that Lewis can have. Now, with harder tyres, they're durable enough to do the distance. We know that because basically this track is not very abrasive. But what it means is you can push a bit harder. So I'm very keen to see what lap times he's doing. And, of course, Mercedes will also be watching very closely to see what sort of pace he's got.
We're just getting another look at the Hadjar incident where he outbraked himself at the Nouvelle chicane and cut the corner off. Yep. And that being looked at by certainly George Russell wanting it to be looked at by race control. I'm not sure it's actually popped up on the timing screen yet.
Yeah, they won't do anything about that the first time it happens, but as Damon said, if he keeps doing it, then it's basically evidence that he can't brake at the point that he would want to, and he's obviously stopping Russell trying to overtake him by braking at a point where the car's not capable of doing it. And they judge it on the basis of whether there's a barrier there on the outside. If there'd been a barrier there and he hit it, he'd have been out of the race. It's a kind of way of thinking about it, but we're not there yet.
Pierre Gasly's driving a good race right now. Good start for the Frenchman in the Alpine, down in 7th, keeping the reigning world champion at bay as he heads now into the Nouvelle chicane. Downhill braking, left, right, then left again. A short straight down to Tabak, a fast left-hander that leads you into the swimming pool chicane. A flick left, then right again as you dance over the curbs on the exits. The pink and blue Alpine versus the papaya and black of the McLaren. And unfortunately for Lando Norris, I think he's getting rather sick and tired of looking at a pink and blue Alpine ahead of him as they make their way back onto the start-finish straight and arc their way round to Saint-Devote. As we tick over for lap 30 of 78, it continues. Gasly 7th, Norris 8th. So Hamilton's pitting then on the hard tyre. He's come out in 3rd. He's about 17 seconds then adrift of Charles Leclerc. Down in 32 seconds adrift of Kimi Antonelli with a pit stop under green flags near about 20 seconds. So for Hamilton, pitting first leads you towards a potential undercut. It will be interesting to see if Hamilton in clear air can claw back some time over Kimi Antonelli on used medium tyres, but coming through the first sector now, Kimi Antonelli certainly pushing hard and perhaps pushing to come in to respond at the end of this lap. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think it's been quite clear that he's been given the message to open the gap and use up these tyres, and then we'll throw them away and get onto the hard tyre pretty soon. Now that Lewis has pitted, they've got that opportunity to come in almost immediately. We'll see if he does actually come in.
Behrman has just been asked to come into the pits and retire in the Haas, which was down and out of the points towards the back, as we're getting a replay of Nico Hülkenberg and into the Nouvelle chicane, outbraking himself and cutting the corner, and all over the back of Arvid Lindblad in their fight over 13th and 14th. No points up for grabs for those two, as Oliver Behrman is now out of his Haas car and rather compounding a miserable day for the American squad.
Yeah, actually Lewis's time, the last clear lap he had, was not as quick as Kimi Antonelli is going. So he's on the hard tyre, and Kimi Antonelli is pushing on and putting 16s, late 16s.
A lot of misfiring this lap. Just noise. Okay, we're checking.
A lot of misfiring or just noise. That was the voice of Lando Norris reporting hearing some things he doesn't want to hear from his engine. As George Russell now is told to pit. He's sick and tired of being behind Isaac Hadjar, and Hadjar doesn't respond. Into the pit lane then from 5th comes George Russell. Rosanna, talk us through it.
Here he comes then into the Mercedes pit box. It's not too far to go. They're second when you come into the pit lane, and it's a super quick stop from the Mercedes team. 2.4 stop time, changes onto the hard tyre, and he's back out into the pit lane, and he's going to rejoin. I guess he just had to do that, Harry. He wasn't going to get past Hadjar, was he?
No, and he's going to come out down in 8th spot behind Lando Norris and hope that the others then start to come into the pits. It's near enough the original pit window we thought we'd see those medium tyre runners begin to come in as we tick over for lap 33. And George Russell then hoping by pitting early, getting out of the traffic that was Isaac Hadjar, bit of clean air, get his tyres up to temperature faster than those who will come into the pits afterwards, that he can make gains now and overtake them when they come in for pit lane. Sound of Franco Colapinto just flirting with the wall.
The barrier again.
He's done well.
He's loving doing this, isn't he?
I mean, that was a tap, but he's had a clout earlier on this weekend and somehow got away with it.
I've never seen a car hit the barrier as hard as that and the car would be okay. So he did a proper job with the left front and then the left rear and managed to get away with it. But he's committed, so there's no doubt about that.
Hadjar responds to George Russell. He comes in for his pit stop. Red Bull already releasing him out into the pit lane then. Hadjar struggling with tyres, struggling with his engine as well. No fix, no solution from the team to Hadjar during this race. Where is George Russell? He's coming round Sandervoort now as Hadjar exits the pit lane, but the pit lane exit cuts off the first corner, but it's enough for George Russell, who comes up the hill ahead of Isaac Hadjar. That is job done then for Mercedes. They have jumped the Red Bull through the pit stops.
Yeah, this is good for George. He's now got an opportunity to close the gap on the Ferraris. At least he can show something of what he can do in this race that remains.
Update from race control. Penalty for Lewis Hamilton. 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane on his pit stop earlier on.
Do you see the issues with the PU? Yes, we do.
That's Lando Norris on the radio talking about issues with his power unit. McLaren, who haven't actually had the best reliability when it comes to their power units this year, struggles again in the race. Hamilton, then with a 5-second time penalty, that will be added on at the end of this race, unless he comes in for another pit stop where he can serve it. But the team might be able to be fairly tactical about that, but he'll have to look behind him and his teammate Charles Leclerc.
It's got no power now. No power, no battery, got nothing.
Do the default again, please. White default 7-0 again.
Last lap around for Lando Norris, who's saying he's got no power, a 122. Compare that to Pierre Gasly's Alpine. Same power unit, different cars. Gasly, a 118.8. So Lando Norris is really down on power right now, or struggling with something out there on the circuit.
And this is just what George doesn't need, isn't it? He's just been behind a car that's got a problem and they're going slowly and can't get past him. So now he's come up against another one.
Yeah, Russell is going to quickly catch, but Russell with much more superior tyres, and Norris still owed his first pit stop, expecting just a one-stop strategy here in Monaco, all things being good. Now, Lando Norris did drop quite a lot of time in that last lap, and as he comes down the hill for the Nouvelle chicane, he's just juttering and not really even slowing down, and cuts the entire chicane.
Yeah, and then fiddles with a few knobs as he comes out of there. It sounded like he didn't change gear or something. He was going through the downshifts, and it sounded like there's maybe a dog clash or something. Anyway, he's not happy with his car. He's struggling with what he's got, and he will hang on tenaciously, of course, but he's got a Russell.
The problem is still real.
Yeah, we're still looking for another fix. We are looking for another fix.
That is Isaac Hadjar and his race engineer desperately trying to find some kind of fix. Hadjar pitting the lap after Russell, but Russell getting the job done. Russell up in 7th now, Hadjar down in 8th. As we're getting action in the pit lane, we think it must be then for Charles Leclerc, who's been told to box. He's coming into the final sector now as he comes into the pit lane and makes his way in from second. Rosanna Tennant, what can you see?
Yeah, he's in there, he's turned on the pit speed limiter and he pulls into the Ferrari pit box. Mechanics are there ready to service the car. Tyres come off, go on a little bit slow to get him back down. He was stopped for 3.3, so yes, quite a bit slower than the other teams we've seen so far, Harry. If you think they were down at the 2.1s, that was Lewis Hamilton, wasn't it? 2.1 earlier, so a little bit slower for Charles Leclerc. Where's this going to feed him out? He's back out onto the track, just got to cross over the white line and he'll rejoin the race.
Yeah, front left looked a little slow going on the Ferrari. Thanks, Rosanna. Leclerc feeds out in 3rd. 10 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli, then your race leader, still yet to pit, now leads the Monaco Grand Prix by over 30 seconds. Let's head back then for an update at Roland Garros, the French Open final. David Law. Continued coverage over on Sports Extra for that. Right now we're on 5 Live Formula One action with the Monaco Grand Prix, lap 37 of 78, and pit stops have been starting to happen over the course of the last few laps. One of the Alpines has just come in. It was Franco Colapinto, who was rather involved in quite a tight midfield scrap from 11th down to about 15th, and I think Alpine deciding let's get out of that one and see if we can undercut the likes of Hulkenberg, Lindblad and Sainz, and see if we can be on the periphery of some points. And it's a quick pit stop as well for the Argentine. Good work from Alpine, who send him out on his way. And in front though, Antonelli leads this Grand Prix, 33 seconds, the gap between himself and Lewis Hamilton, yet to pit. Hamilton will be given a 5-second time penalty added on at the end of this race unless he has another pit stop for speeding in the pit lane. He has pitted though, he's in second. Charles Leclerc has just come into the pits as well. Both Ferraris now on the hard compound tyre in third. Piastri's worked his way up to fourth, having yet to pit. Gasly the same in fifth, with Norris in sixth and struggling with issues on his power unit, as we have the other Mercedes, our leader in, Rosanna.
And Kimi Antonelli's into the pit box at Mercedes. They lift the car up. Quick change of tyres and he's on his way again. 2.3, nice and speedy for the Italian driver, Kimi Antonelli. He had such a big gap on the field there, didn't he? Over half a minute. What a comfortable position he's in. Yeah,
it's been sublime so far from Kimi Antonelli, who hasn't put a foot wrong in the first 38 laps of this race as he re-emerges in the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix.
And unfortunately for his teammate Harry, George Russell has been spotted for speeding in the pit lane. He's under investigation, so that's normally a slam dunk, as we saw with Lewis Hamilton. So if it is, that'll be 5 seconds presumably added to his race time as well as Lewis Hamilton's, which is not what George Russell needs at this moment.
No. Well, it doesn't, isn't it?
It sort of suggests there might be something that's catching them out on the way into this pit lane, but two very experienced drivers getting a pit lane speeding penalty.
Yeah,
and it is
confirmed. Yeah.
A 5-second time penalty then given to George Russell. That will be added on at the end of his race, unless we suddenly get any other pit stops in which they can come in and no one's allowed to touch the car for 5 seconds and then they can go off. But if everything remains the same, it will be added on at the end. Russell at the moment nearly 12 seconds though ahead of Hadjar, who's behind him.
Yeah, actually, ironically, it might not make a difference to any of them. At the moment, Hamilton's well clear of Leclerc. At the moment, Russell's well clear of Hadjar. The only thing is Russell's catching Lando Norris's limping McLaren, although he seems to have recovered a bit and got back up to the back of Pierre Gasly's Alpine. Neither of them have stopped yet. Neither has Oscar Piastri in fourth place. So it could yet come to affect Russell.
We're going to have to start painting pictures in people's minds, Harry, because we're watching the screen and it does look fantastic. The car's going round the Fairmont hairpin and Lando Norris right up behind Pierre Gasly. It's all good stuff just to watch, but I'm afraid as far as actual overtaking goes, we're still waiting for one. But you can live in hope.
We can live in hope, you're right, David, but that's why it's almost why we love Monaco, because you go from the best Saturday to, okay, not the best of Sundays, but you still have 22 cars threading the needle around the tightest track on the calendar. One small mistake can completely ruin your race or change the game entirely.
Well, we've got a bit of a battle here. We've got George catching up with Lando now, and Lando all over the back of Pierre Gasly. So we've got 3 cars really in a hurry to get past an Alpine. We'll see if they can.
And the key point here, of course, is Russell is recovering. He's already done a pit stop, whereas the other 2 haven't. So he's in a net massive lead over those 2. It's really just a fight between Gasly and Norris, who both have to pit soon. And there'll be a bit of a game going on in the McLaren and Alpine pits as to how they either keep their position in Gasly's case or in Norris's case get ahead of him. This undercut, overcut thing that I was talking about earlier, Harry.
At 40 of 78. Kimi Antonelli, the Italian, leads the Monaco Grand Prix, while an Italian leads here. It's not such the case over at Roland Garros. David Law. Sports Extra is where you can catch all the action from Roland Garros and the French Open final. 5 Live here will continue to provide you updates with what's going on as we guide you through the remainder of this Monaco Grand Prix. Lap 40 of 78. Antonelli leads Hamilton, leads Leclerc. Antonelli, though, with a sizable advantage. The top 3 have all pitted. Piastri hasn't. He's in 4th, kind of in no man's land. The battle for 5th is on, but it has been on pretty much since lap 1. Pierre Gasly holds it right now, having yet to pit. Lando Norris stuck behind him with some power unit issues, but it seems like he's almost fired back into life, and now he has George Russell all over the back of him in the Mercedes. Russell, who has pitted, managing to overtake Isaac Hadjar through pit stop sequences, but is now stuck behind the 2 cars that have not pitted.
And the reason these guys haven't pitted, Piastri is trying to clear Hadjar, who's currently 20 seconds behind him, which is pretty much exactly what you need to make a pit stop. So Piastri wants to try and get a little bit more of a lead over Hadjar if he can. Which is at the moment he's not doing because he's lapping slower than him. But more importantly, Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly, if they pitted now, they'd come out behind Liam Lawson, who's currently 9th in the Racing Bull, and he hasn't stopped either. So they don't want to get stuck behind a Racing Bull on old tyres, so they have to try and clear him before they pit. That's why they're going so deep into this race, plus also the safety car aspect as well. You want to, if you're in this situation now, you might try and wait as long as possible to clear that car, but also to hope that there might be a safety car to help you do it.
There's a commentator's curse for you there, Andrew. Safety car, well, what could happen? Something could happen. I mean, we're seeing cars lapping each other. Things can go wrong. You know, people misjudge things, or one of these cars gets a proper mechanical failure and gets put in a position where they can't get out the way, and yes, suddenly you've got a safety car matter. But George Russell is sitting here behind these guys who have yet to pit. He's pitted and he can't go anywhere. It must be driving him absolutely nuts.
Well, the sun is shining over Monte Carlo. The drinks are in full flow in the yachts that float in the harbour. Every balcony, every vantage point that looks over the track is absolutely full to the brim, as spectators from all over the world converge on the Principality to watch what is now 19 Formula One cars making their way around this track, threading the needle. The barriers so close, blind corners, high speeds and battles throughout the field. However, overtaking at very much a premium.
So we've got another pit lane speeding penalty. Damon's right, this is very unusual. This time it's Franco Colapinto. That's, was that 5 or 6? Because Sergio Perez also got one. Look, you don't normally see this many. Something must be going on there. And in the meantime, just wanted to mention that, well, it's now changed, but Charles Leclerc had been closing in on Lewis Hamilton in 2nd place. He'd got it down to under 10 seconds, the gap. But it looked like he was trying to get that gap down to 5 seconds and then gain the place. But well, it doesn't look like he can do it anymore. Here's Norris.
Lando, we want to do the holding strategy on Russell. We want to build up the seconds over the next couple of laps, please.
So that's Lando Norris being instructed really to play the team game now. Hold up George Russell behind to help out his teammate Oscar Piastri, who's looking to build a pit stop size gap, not only over Gasly, but certainly over Russell as well, who is down in 7th. Piastri's up in 4th, yet to pit.
Yeah, so what's happened? Because Lando's lost ground to Pierre Gasly suddenly. So I'm trying. Maybe it's just passing back markers that did that.
On the penalties, I just wonder, I mean, it would seem like a complete sort of, you wouldn't expect it, but normally the pit speed at most racetracks is what, 80 kilometres?
Oh, it's touched me up.
And Russell confirming that Lando Norris is trying to back him up ahead of him. Normally it's what, 80 kilometres per hour? In Monaco it is slower, it's at 60 kilometres.
Don't know the exact speed, but yes,
has that just been a bit of an oversight from some of the teams who haven't logged that, or the drivers?
I'm not really understanding this strategy from McLaren, because Oscar Piastri, he's 14 seconds ahead of Russell. So, you know, it's quite a lot of backing up to get him out to 20 seconds, and in doing that, Lando Norris is losing ground to Pierre Gasly, who they might have got him ahead of if he'd been behind him when they came to a pit window. So it's all a bit nonsensical to me.
Well, Norris has just been told to go back to normal pace now.
Maybe I should be on a McLaren pit wall.
It does sound rather strange to be telling a racing driver to go as slow as possible, doesn't it? But anyway, this is all part of the pit stop strategy that you need to create. Now, maybe what he's allowing him to do is get a bit of a speed up now, As Russell looks to the outside of Lando Norris as they go down to the new chicane. Russell was very close that time. You certainly can't be going too slow in any race in Formula One, because you will have the guy behind you take an opportunity. It does look like George nearly had Lando on that lap. But getting back to the strategy, I mean, now he's lost, as you say, Andrew. I don't understand why you'd want to go so slow, because you're actually falling back into traffic that you'd come out in if you did a pit stop.
It doesn't appear to help Piastri with regard to Russell. There's too big a gap back to Hadjar, who's the next one behind Russell, who Piastri still has to clear before a stop, which he doesn't look like he can do. And then it's also harming Norris. So it's, I mean, McLaren have done some slightly weird strategy things recently, not least in Canada 2 weeks ago when they put the wrong tyres on for the start of the race on both cars. But it's one I'm a bit mystified by. I'm trying to get an explanation from Andrea Stella, the team principal, after the race.
Yeah, it's definitely a team thing going on to help Piastri, isn't it? But anyway, they're doing it. Whether it's going to work or not, we'll find out in a minute.
Pit stop for Alex Albon from 10th spot. Good race so far for the Williams drivers. What a move from George Russell in the middle of the tunnel. Lando Norris is going slow, and I think Norris must have some sort of problem. Russell sliding past the McLaren in the middle of the tunnel. You do not see that. Norris has an issue as Hadjar flies by through to back. Are we about to see a McLaren retirement from this race?
That was a bit of a hairy moment. It could. I mean, he has obviously not got full power.
Lando, just we're going to box this lap and retire the car. We're going to box the lap and retire the car.
Retirement for our reigning world champion. Lando Norris is out of this race as he peels up outside his McLaren garage. Rosanna.
Yeah, and it's the first garage you come to because, of course, they are reigning world champions. So Lando Norris brought into the pits. We've got more action in the pits with other drivers coming in to have their tyres changed. Gabriel Bortoletto and Liam Lawson. But devastating stuff for McLaren and Lando Norris. A power unit issue is what their CEO, Zak Brown, was saying was causing the problem for Lando Norris. But a lot of reliability issues out there at the moment, Harry. We've had Ollie Behrman out with brake issues. Bottas the same in the Cadillac with brake issues. And, of course, we had Max Verstappen off the start as well, with a problem, and then he couldn't even start the race.
And more pit lane indiscretions. George Russell has been noted for crossing the line at pit exit, which you're not allowed to do. It's not yet been elevated, but it's been noted. It's again,
I think it's a big hefty penalty, that one, isn't it?
It's a penalty, and now he's up. He's only a couple of seconds ahead of George Russell. I expect another time penalty to come Russell's way as Albon is told to swap positions with Carlos Sainz, the two Williams drivers 9th and 10th.
I was about to say Liam Lawson pitted on the previous lap. That was going to mean that Piastri and Gasly could pit, and Gasly is the one who's blinked first, which is interesting. I would have thought McLaren would have gone for that. Here comes Gasly into the pit box.
About 46 of 78 here at the Monaco Grand Prix. Pit stops happening then for those further down in the mid-pack. Strategy starting to unfold for those as Lando Norris now finds himself out of this race. A retirement, suspected power unit issues.
Is there a reason for this? Because if I'm P10, what are you trying to do? I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I just... Are we just risking something for nothing, or...
That was Alex Albon asking for a reason as to why he's swapping with his teammate. We didn't get an answer, but we've seen it on track, and he is duly obliged, and that is to try and keep the likes of the Racing Bulls and that midfield pack behind, and to try and build up enough of a gap for Carlos Sainz to come in for a pit stop and come back out in the points. Williams trying to secure a double points finish here, which will be crucial in that midfield battle. Right, getting a little bit more interesting then up and down the field here in Monaco. Interesting over at Roland Garros as well. Let's head over for an update. David Law. Continued coverage over on Sports Extra. A mighty race so far as well for Kimi Antonelli here as we're getting a look at his Mercedes teammate George Russell gliding past Lando Norris in the tunnel, which is where it all came undone.
I got nothing. No battery.
No battery, nothing working for Lando Norris as we've got a lock-up for one of the Williams cars. I think that's Albon fighting in the lower pack, trying to keep the likes of Arvid Lindblad at bay, having just swapped positions with his teammate Carlos Sainz to try and let Sainz get a 20-second gap ahead of this midfield gaggle in order to get a fresh, clear pit stop. But Albon really playing the team game here. He's got to keep Lindblad, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Colapinto, and Fernando Alonso's not too far behind them actually. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 cars all in his rearview mirror.
Oh, Mike, that's going to be interesting. I think sometimes when you're trying to, hold people up, you're not looking where you're going because you're looking in the mirrors. So maybe that's why Alex went through the chicane like that. But he can't do that too many times, as we said before. Yeah, it's great. Love have no man. Then he'd give up a load of time just to give his other teammate, or his team, more points.
Well, to get a double points finish would be huge for Williams in this stage of the championship, considering they're not quite where they wanted to fight, but they thought they might be fighting, having finished 5th in the Constructors' Championship. Alonso's really not far off the back of that midfield battle.
Yeah, we're being too smart with it, guys.
Yeah, okay.
I don't get it.
Albon thinking that they might be throwing something away here. Are they trying to be too smart? How much has Carlos Sainz got at the moment over his own teammate? He's only got 5.7 seconds. He'll need at least another 5 ideally over his own teammate.
They're trying to lock in the last 2 points positions, aren't they? I think that's the gamble with this team game, which they played last year, didn't they? Williams were the ones who started all the shenanigans with the 2 pit stop rule last year.
Yeah, a couple did, didn't they?
Yeah.
The Racing Bulls did it as well. So Arvid Lindblad will know exactly what to do, but Arvid Lindblad has got alongside him as well, and it's all gone wrong for Williams. And Alex Albon has coming out of Anthony Nogues. It's not gone well for the Williams, who loses out to the Racing Bulls, who nicks by and up inside the top 10, with Albon now having to look at his mirrors at Nico Hulkenberg chomping at the bit as Oscar Piastri comes into the pit lane while all this carnage is happening out on track. Yet to pit, takes his first stop of the day and should come out in 6th place behind Isaac Hadjar.
I mean, the only thing you can say about that is that Lindblad's got to stop, so he's going to be behind him eventually, but it's now he got a chance to close some gap and actually get into that position and maybe ahead of Carlos Sainz when he stops.
And I'll tell you what's interesting. Remember I was talking about the Ferraris earlier, about Leclerc looking like he was closing up on Hamilton, and Hamilton, remember, has got that 5-second penalty at the end of the race. Well, guess what? Leclerc's only 5.8 seconds behind Hamilton at the moment.
Yeah, and I've not seen a message to Hamilton. I'm sure he must have been told he got a 5-second penalty, but he does need to get a move on if he wants to keep 2nd place. He's not going to get Kimi Antonelli, who is 22 seconds ahead up the road and probably having trouble concentrating now, because he surely must be thinking to himself, I'm going to be winning the Monaco Grand Prix, all things being equal.
Nearly 22 seconds up the field is Kimi Antonelli over Lewis Hamilton. Antonelli leading the Monaco Grand Prix. Here he is.
Kimi, if we were to stop again under safety car, we have plenty of margin. You just have to be really careful on the entry and exit. What you did last time was perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to stop.
No, it's only safety car. You can get a free stop, that's all.
So, just Kimi Antonelli then being reassured by his engineer that they've got the margin and they want a little bit more of a margin should there be any unscheduled pit stops.
Yeah, I think that's so impressive when he's out there leading, and he's getting in instruction, and they're saying, and he's actually telling them, listen, we don't need to stop, so he's happy where he is and he knows what he's doing. He thinks he's got it all under control, and he's quite right to actually express his view of how things are. So it's just so impressive, everything he's been doing this weekend.
And Lewis Hamilton has now lost 2nd place on countback. Once his penalty comes in, he's 4.8 seconds behind ahead of Charles Leclerc at the moment, with a 5-second penalty coming, and he doesn't seem to be able to do anything about it. Leclerc is lapping consistently a lot quicker than Hamilton. I wonder if Hamilton's got some kind of problem that we're not finding out about yet.
Yeah, 4.7 seconds now between the 2 Ferraris. Russell in 4th. A man on his own, 7 seconds up the field as Hadjar. That's enough at the moment for Russell to hold on to 4th, but that gap is actually slowly just ebbing and flowing. Russell, another one with a 5-second time penalty, and another one under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. That's Pierre Gasly's now, Alpine, so expect 5 seconds to be added onto his time too. He sits 7th. Lawson is in 8th, and Liam Lawson has actually managed to come into the pits and back out again and hold on to that. Carlos Sainz is up in 9th on the medium tyre, yet to pit, with Arvid Lindblad right behind him in 10th. Alex Albon also has pitted, and that team game hasn't really worked out well for Albon so far. He's down in 11th, keeping Hulkenberg at bay. Nico Hulkenberg has pitted in 12th. Ocon 13th, Colapinto 14th, Alonso, Stroll, Perez and Bortoletto, the 18 cars that remain in this race. We've lost Lando Norris with suspected power unit issues, Oliver Behrman in the Haas retiring, Valtteri Bottas too early doors, and Max Verstappen struggled to get off the line, and in the end, from second place on the grid, bowed out of the Grand Prix and couldn't even complete a racing lap. Lap 52 now of 78. And keeping a track of things in that midfield pack, we've got the Williams of Alex Albon, who's now started to stabilise his pace a little bit, having just lost out to Arvid Lindblad, who nicked through on the Thai driver. And on cue, 5-second time penalty for Gasly.
It's a bit strange that a guy...
Oh, that was sorry, I got excited there. It was a blue flag overtake, Damon.
Yeah, well, it was an overtake.
It was an overtake.
We have actually had an overtake as well in this race. We had two, but of course one of them was caused by Lando Norris's car not having any power in the tunnel. I think that was, I think George and he had worked all that out, so it wasn't as dramatic as it looked to us, but certainly some back markers getting in the way now, and we got George going past. Is that Albon or was that Carlos Sainz?
That would be Albon in the Williams, and it'll be interesting to hear from the Williams drivers, particularly Alex Albon, once this all shakes out. Still time to see how this order remains, but I'm losing hope that it's going to go the way they intended it to, with Albon being swarmed by those behind. Gasly's had a good race so far, up in 7th, but he's been slapped with a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Liam Lawson's been running a good race. He's on the soft tyre now, though, is Liam Lawson, and hoping to, I presume, make that go to the end of the race. And we've seen the soft tyre lasting longer than we thought.
I'm just thinking, the thing is, why is Alex Albon on a soft tyre unable to keep cars behind him, even though they haven't pitted yet? So this is a bit of a mystery to me.
Well, we'll figure this out. Just looking at the driver tracker, and I think Kimi Antonelli is about to come up behind his teammate and lap him.
Yeah.
George Russell is 4th, but that is impressive stuff from Kimi Antonelli. Round the right hand up at Portier. This is the sound of Nico Hulkenberg. That's the next closest battle at the moment, over 11th place that Albon holds. Antonelli then 23 seconds clear of Hamilton. Leclerc well within that 5-second margin he needs to inherit that position from Hamilton. Russell 4th, about to get lapped by his teammate. Hadjar 5th, Piastri 6th, Gasly 7th, Lawson 8th, Carlos Sainz now into the pits. And I don't think this strategy has paid off for Williams. He comes into his box as the team get to work, and it's a slow pit stop as well from the team too that send him on his way. Lindblad is currently in 10th. Arvid Lindblad, I think, stays out on the track and does indeed go up into 9th spot. Lindblad yet to pit. Where does this lead Carlos Sainz? He's going to come right outside the pit entry ahead of his teammate Albon. 10th and 11th. Will Sainz play the team game and give that position back to his teammate now, though? There's only one space in the points for them.
Yeah, and Albon's doing a very, very good job of holding up Hulkenberg, because Hulkenberg was all over the back of him going into turn 1 as Carlos Sainz came out of the pit lane. So it is a lot of very cars very bunched up together now, because they go down around the Fairmont hairpin and into the tunnel. Now Williams will be able to hopefully get a bit more of a gap and a bit more less pressure, and then Alex can maybe get his place back.
And they've got Isaac Hadjar trying to lap this gaggle of cars as well. What is happening in the pit lane? Oscar Piastri under investigation for speeding, as we're going to get another look at George Russell crossing over the white line at the pit exit. An off-camera look coming our way. It's the front left. He's on it. I think he'll be okay. I don't think any part of the wheel went fully over the line.
No, that looks okay to me, but I'm getting confused because they were putting some replays out, and I thought I saw a Williams going very slowly coming out of maybe it was letting
letting Hadjar through.
Yeah.
5-second time penalty for Oscar Piastri, which wouldn't do anything to him as it stands, but it's a curious case of the speeding in the pit lane in Monaco this weekend.
So how many people have we got speeding in the pit lane? We've got Piastri, Hamilton, Perez, Gasly,
Colapinto, Stroll. Did I just see Stroll?
That was something else.
That was something else.
Limits,
track limits. Stroll's been done, by the way. So that's 6 plus Oscar Piastri. 7.
Kimi Antonelli just on the fastest lap of the race, 14.99.
There's something weird with the engine up the hill.
Having a look.
Something weird with the engine up the hill, heading out from Saint-Devote up to Casino Square. That's Kimi Antonelli, your race leader, reporting that. This Mercedes power unit does have some reliability issues. We've seen that clear as day from the first 6 rounds now.
Lots of people saying they got power issues. Lando's retired, and also Lewis Hamilton, I think, has been complaining of lack of power. He's now going to be attacked by Charles Leclerc as well, and if Kimi Antonelli has a problem, this will be a fight between the Ferrari drivers for the lead of this race.
Wow. This could well turn on its head here in Monaco. Lap 57 of 78. Kimi, that looked like a small D-rate up the hill. Don't worry about it, is what Pete Bonington has been told. Damien, give us an idea of what D-rating is all about.
D-rating, it's a strange term, isn't it? But what it means is actually reducing the effectiveness of the engine, the petrol engine part, because it's actually doing half of its work is charging up the battery.
Yeah, it's just charging the electrical components, basically the hybrid system.
Yeah, I don't know how it means D-rating, but anyway,
it's one of the, we talked about this before, haven't we? Here's some Antonelli radio.
Again, Kimi, fastest lap. We don't need them.
We don't need it. They don't want to cause any kind of drama, any kind of risk for Mercedes. Kimi Antonelli, who leads this race by 27 seconds, and he's been reassured that there are no issues on board his Mercedes on lap 57 of 78. We have lost, though, a fair few drivers. Max Verstappen out early doors with suspected engine issues. Bottas in the Cadillac, Behrman in the Haas too. And the latest victim of the Monaco Grand Prix, our reigning world champion, Lando Norris. He's been speaking in the pen with Rosanna Tennant.
Lando, I know the team were giving you fixes while you were out there. What was the eventual problem that meant you had to actually retire?
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I was told to retire.
Disappointing. What was it feeling like in the car, though? Because you were obviously struggling for quite some time during the race.
Yeah, I mean, my pace to Pierre was much better. Of course, he just got past at the beginning with a tough turn 1. Now he gets a penalty, so now is my chance to be there and get some more points. But to be honest, nothing really matters. Just got to finish a race, and we can't even do that at the minute.
Are they similar issues to what you're experiencing at the beginning of the season?
I have no idea. Okay. These are just issues I leave to the pros to sort out, you know. Like the team, they're working hard, they're trying to do everything they can. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know, I just seem to be getting unlucky pretty often, but that's life.
That's life, bad luck, thank you.
Well, a rather dejected Lando Norris there. 2 retirements in a row now for Lando Norris, and certainly something that McLaren and perhaps Mercedes as well need to start working through and decreasing these power unit related issues.
Yeah, and my dad always used to say, if you can't say anything positive, don't say anything at all. So it's Lando, obviously, I must have heard that from my dad, but he was trying to say nothing, and he's obviously dejected, you know, he's a world champion, but we've got Charles Leclerc, a replay watching him coming down to the New chicane, and nothing to report particularly. He took a bit more of the curb, maybe it was than he needed to, but definitely.
I think he's just getting very close to the barrier.
That. Yeah, they're showing us a replay of him coming out of the New chicane.
He did hit it.
He walloped that. That is too hard. There's a flash of fire from the magnesium hitting the Armco. So a spark coming off his left front. That was a little bit too close for comfort. You don't get too many of those before you have your broken steering arm in the car, and so but he's pushing on because he wants to have this potentially second place. He's got it already at the moment. We're watching another replay.
No, I think it's
this is
live
live
now.
I beg your pardon.
Does he leave a bit more margin? Not really.
Not really. I winced, but we saw him getting very close again to exactly the same place on the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane, now going through the swimming pool section and coming out of the swimming pool section where you try to very close to the barrier on the right but not hit it. But Charles is an aggressive driver and he's not afraid of these barriers. He's quite happy to bounce off. As long as the car can take all that punishment, then he'll be okay. But he's pressing on. He's got Lewis may have found a bit of pace because Charles is not closed the gap much. He's gone up to 2.9 seconds, 2.8, so he's pressing down. But I don't know, we haven't heard much from Lewis recently, but I'm sure he's trying his best to extend that gap to, and we now have a yellow flag.
Yellow flag out on track, and it's for an Aston Martin that's found the wall, and it's Lance Stroll. This could turn the race on its head. Lance Stroll, it looks like it's Anthony Nogues at the final corner. I think it is, just after the pit lane entry. Safety car is out for Lance Stroll's Aston Martin. I was just about to say, everybody has done their mandatory pit stop with the exception of Arvid Lindblad in the Racing Bulls, who's worked his way up to 9th. This will work a treat for him. Could it help anybody else out as well? You halve the time lost under a safety car for a pit stop. If you do come in, it'll only cost you about 12 seconds.
Who is going to risk not coming in?
Well, Antonelli's just gone past.
He didn't go in. So he's been told.
In.
Yeah, he's been told he could have done a pit stop and he hasn't done it.
I really don't understand that.
Yeah, Hamilton, you're coming in because the gap is only 4.3 seconds to your teammate and actually gone up to Charles Leclerc. Worth noting that Lewis Hamilton has a 5-second time penalty to serve, which he will now serve at his pit stop as he follows the McLaren of Oscar Piastri in. Rosanna Tennant, what can you see?
Oscar Piastri goes into the McLaren pit box and the pink sparkly helmet of Lewis Hamilton. Oh, I can see them pulling into the pit box and the mechanics wait. Obviously 5 seconds they have to wait. Now they can touch the car. The tyres come off and they're fitting a soft tyre. A used soft tyre there for Lewis Hamilton and followed straight away by Charles Leclerc as well. The mechanics go to work as well. A double stack for Ferrari, but it's a slow stop trying to get the car back down. He'll follow his teammate out, but he's got the McLaren as well, Leclerc.
Why the hell are we keeping? Why aren't we staying out?
Charles Leclerc questioning that strategy of bringing them both in. It certainly harms Leclerc more than Hamilton, and they double stack. Leclerc coasting in the pit lane whilst Hamilton was serviced first by the mechanics.
Yeah, but you hear this comment all the time from Charles, why did we do this and why did we do? Well, just do what you want to do, I mean, if you don't agree with it, don't do it.
You can't though, can you, as a driver? Interestingly, Russell and Hadjar also didn't pit under that safety car. It's obviously not a slam dunk because Gasly's not come in either. At least not yet. Neither has Arvid Lindblad in the Racing Bull.
Didn't he have to?
All cars have just been told to go through the pit lane because that's where the final corner is rather half blocked by the Aston Martin.
What are Mercedes going to do now? Are they going to? Antonelli has to come through the pits, but is he going to take the opportunity to put fresh tyres? Yes,
he is. He is. As Antonelli comes in, your race leader under safety car, and Mercedes are going to double stack as well. But it's a slow rear left for Kimi Antonelli, who gets on his way. Then George Russell immediately comes in as well for new tyres. Russell going on the soft tyres, and it's slow again for Mercedes, who just about get Russell ahead of the Racing Bulls. That would have been Arvid Lindblad coming in for his first stop. Is Lindblad actually going to stop? I'm not sure Arvid Lindblad is going to stop. He's not, and he hasn't actually done a pit stop yet. So everyone has to come through the pit lane anyway, because the final corner is where the stricken Aston Martin is being currently seen to of Lance Stroll and taken away. So that is very interesting. Then
so
Antonelli still leads this race, having done another pit stop. The two Ferraris did pit as well, as we're seeing what happened to Lance Stroll coming through Anthony Nogues.
Barrier. Oh no, he's lost his left front. Didn't work when he went to turn in for the last corner.
They picked up a load of marbles on the outside, and that
but it's just, I think the right front is
just
pointing
didn't turn
out
in
already. Yeah.
And the Aston Martin Lance Stroll fans in the grandstand
to the left
are heartbroken by that one. Kimi Antonelli, and this was Antonelli coming across the incident.
I was too late, okay? They're gonna pit, man.
Yeah. So they wanted to pit him first when it first came out, but it was too late for Antonelli, who did slow down, but the response wasn't quite there. Okay, safety car out here in Monaco. Kimi Antonelli holds the lead, Hamilton second, Leclerc third, Hadjar fourth, and George Russell, the top 5. Let's see how this shakes out in the closing stages of the Monaco Grand Prix. Safety car is out, so field neutralised. While this happens, let's head back to Roland Garros for an update. Russell Fuller. Continue coverage over on Sports Extra for that one right here on 5 Live. You're listening to commentary of the Monaco Grand Prix with myself, Harry Benjamin, the 1996 F1 World Champion Damon Hill. Also joining us is the BBC's F1 correspondent Andrew Benson and Rosanna Tennant down in pit lane.
I honestly, at that point, I know we need to become better, but why are you not letting me out? I don't even understand your explanation, to be honest.
Charles Leclerc, who doesn't understand the strategy calls for Ferrari in the course of the last few laps. A man who has just signed his immediate future with Ferrari coming into this weekend, extending his contract.
Now, are we going to get lapped cars able to overtake the safety car? What happens now?
It's a good question, but I tell you what's interesting here is Isaac Hadjar, I should say, has stayed out. Well, he's had to come through the pits, but he's not changed his tyre. So he's jumped back ahead of George Russell, who spent the entire first stint of the race behind him, back into 4th place. And Oscar Piastri in the McLaren has really lost out from this because he was in 4th place before all this started, having delayed his pit stop quite late. And now he's behind Hadjar, Russell and Pierre Gasly's Alpine, which he was ahead of before all this started to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it says here that Lindblad has actually finally changed his tyres as well. But anyway, so everyone's got their pit stop out of the way. But this has meant that the gaps that were there will be non-existent anymore. And the massive lead that Kimi Antonelli had extended means that, well, barring the Red Bull of Hadjar, who is now parked behind Kimi Antonelli, but he shouldn't be there. There is a clear track, or at least there's an opportunity for people to get very close, or Lewis Hamilton to get closer to him.
Yeah, Piastri's really lost out badly here. Hadjar and Gasly I get because they've not stopped for tyres. Russell has stopped for tyres, and Mercedes somehow have managed to get Russell ahead of Piastri, which he wasn't before the pit stops.
I mean, Charles, what would he have gained? Charles would have gained track position on Lewis Hamilton. He would have just got ahead of Lewis, but he would, he's already got this 5-second penalty. But he's done it in his pit stop, so the 5 second doesn't apply. As we're watching cars now overtaking lapped cars.
Here's all the overtaking we've been missing.
Yeah, there's not as exciting as we'd hoped for, but there's Kimi. So all the cars are overtaking Kimi because he was actually lapping most of them. So we're watching almost the entire field now.
Now the Ferraris have found Kimi Antonelli and tucked up behind him.
But it's going to take ages to get round to catch up the back of this field.
I reckon they'll be able to do it. They'll have another lap on the safety car, I think. As the penalty for speeding for Oscar Piastri was served, and that is the reason why he lost out massively in this scenario of pit stops.
And Charles Leclerc's obviously complaining because he knows that he was on target to beat Lewis Hamilton in this race because of Hamilton's 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
And he's saying, why did you hold me back before the pit stop under the safety car, which enabled Hamilton obviously to serve his 5-second penalty. So now Hamilton's going to get that second place.
Although on the graphics we have, it still has a red exclamation mark alongside Hamilton's name, which suggests there is still a penalty to be served, unless it just hasn't loaded up yet through race control.
That's a good point, Harry, because Piastri does not have an exclamation mark against his name. And he's obviously served his penalty and lost that place as a result, whereas Gasly does still have an exclamation mark, and he's one of the ones who also has a pit lane speeding penalty.
Update, it has been served.
Yeah, just literally just disappeared as you said it. Now. As you said it, it's come off the screen. The other thing is just cast your mind back to the moment before Stroll hit the barrier. They were telling Kimi Antonelli that we didn't need any fastest laps, but he's got it anyway, so it's up there. But that was an interesting comment, because that's exactly the comment that was given to Ayrton Senna when he was told to stop going so fast, and then he slowed down and crashed.
Lap 65 of 78 of the Monaco Grand Prix. We're under safety car conditions for Lance Stroll's Aston Martin crashing into the barrier at the final corner. Antonelli leads. Here's his teammate Russell in fifth.
And have I served my penalty or not? I spent about 10 seconds into pit lane. Lost position to Hajar.
Let's talk about it after.
Yeah, I just need to know if I'm getting a 5-second penalty and I'm stood behind Hajar on hard tyres.
I'll give you the messages as the messages come through. Okay.
Yeah, all right then.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit slow coming through on race control, and the same coming. We get those messages as well, and that's going through to the teams too. So I think the exclamation marks it should be cleared imminently, but Russell's one taking a little longer, so we'll keep you a track on that. Antonelli, Hamilton, Leclerc the top three as the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Hajar fourth, Russell is fifth ahead of Pierre Gasly. Oscar Piastri serving his penalty, losing out positions as a result, down in seventh. It's going well for the two Racing Bulls cars so far, with Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad really benefiting from this safety car into the points with ninth. Albon, having done the swap back with Carlos Sainz, is now inside the top 10. And the final point scorer.
Now, you've got a little bit of an issue in that in order to get the cars at the back to catch up, the safety car's been going very slowly, and some of the drivers are complaining about the tyres or the safety car going too slow. As you can see, we can see them weaving now as they come through the swimming pool section. We got Lewis Hamilton is all over the back of Kimi Antonelli's car as we come up to the restart, which will be in a few corners' time.
And into Antonelli will be looking in his mirrors. He's already gone. On the way down to Anthony Noakes, the right-hander, being chased by the two Ferraris. Lewis Hamilton's best chance at taking the lead will be down into Sainte Devote. Good traction out of the exit of the final corner. Down the start-finish straight we go. Green flag racing back underway here in Monaco. Braking for the turn one right-hander as we head up the hill. And it's heartbreak for Charles Leclerc as he finds the wall. The Monegasque is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc in the barriers. Yellow flag back out. That's at Anthony Noakes, the same corner as Aston Martin's Lance Stroll a few laps ago. And that is a heartbreaking scenario for the fans in the grandstands.
Looking at them coming down the start finish straight, and I'm thinking that's a Red Bull in third place. What's going on? Anyway, it's exactly the same as you said, Harry. And he was the driver that was complaining about cold tyres behind the safety car, and something has gone wrong terribly for Charles Leclerc. He will be bitterly disappointed. The Monegasque driver, famously winning here in a Ferrari.
What happened though? Okay, so Lewis Hamilton kind of left him up the road on the exit. This is the sound of Leclerc coming through Anthony Noakes.
Just didn't turn. Didn't turn.
He also picks up so many marbles on that front left tyre.
Honestly, I'm not even going to take the blame. These brakes.
And he's blaming the brakes. He's been struggling with that all weekend long.
Yeah. Oh my! So
but it's carbon copy of Stroll.
Well, you say carbon. Actually, of course, that's the operative word. If you don't get the carbon brakes really hot, they don't work. They're stone cold. It's suddenly they just go from being massively powerful brakes to no brakes at all. He's tried to slow down for Anthony Noakes. It didn't slow down, and he just couldn't make the corner. So now we've got the same routine we're going to have. At least the cars have unlapped themselves, and they'll all have a chance to close up. But Lewis Hamilton, hopefully the engineer at Ferrari will be saying, listen, just try and get your brakes hot, mate, for a turn for the restart of this one. But I'm sure Lewis Hamilton, with all his experience, will be knowing exactly what to do to get heat in the brakes. It's so important, and Kimi Antonelli, they will be telling him the same thing as well.
Right, safety car out then again here in Monaco, lap 67 of 78. Charles Leclerc out of his home Grand Prix. Let's head downstairs for an update from Rosanna. Hi, Rosanna.
Hi, Harry. The marshals are putting in an absolute shift this afternoon. They work so quickly here in the Principality. They've already got Charles Leclerc's Ferrari on the crane, lifted up and over the catch fence. So the car is already cleared. And as you say, we haven't got so many lap cars. So hopefully we can get the race back underway as Charles Leclerc comes into the Ferrari garage, takes his helmet off, takes off his balaclava, ruffles his hair a little and starts to unzip his race overall. Looking fairly hot. It's been a physical race out there. And you can tell how stressed he is. He's talking with some of the engineers, and he's looks unbelievably cross. He's shaking his head now as he takes his race overall off. Disappointing for the Monegasque driver. So much bad luck around this track he's had, hasn't he, Harry?
Yeah, we thought he'd broken his streak of bad luck with that incredible win a couple of years ago for Charles Leclerc, taking victory back in 2024. It won't be the case this weekend. Right, the George Russell serving of a penalty for speeding in the pit lane has not been served correctly.
Oh, that's to touch the car.
It's been noted for that, and I think that will be trouble coming his way.
Yeah.
And would you like another speeding in the pit lane penalty? It might be coming the way of Pierre Gasly, who's done it again and been noted for it.
Yeah, and then any other time they might have been able to get a gap to be able to mitigate that penalty, but not now. We've only got 10 laps left and everyone's all bunched up, so very unlikely they're going to escape without that penalty robbing them of a place.
So that could really help actually Piastri, who's behind Gasly and Russell, get back a few places. Yeah. And Russell will have a penalty to serve of 5 seconds once again. Gasly, we can presume, will take that same punishment as well.
This is an interesting race because it seems like the pendulum swings one way or the other.
Oh, red flag. Red flag for the Monaco Grand Prix.
Is that a red flag or was that just a very bad orange?
No, it is red flag.
Oh yeah, it's red flags, I can see.
It's red flag. Yeah. The race has stopped.
Oh.
Right, we don't know why, but we thought they'd be able to clear. If it's for Charles Leclerc's car, something must have happened. But Kimi Antonelli, as the red flag is called, leads this Grand Prix from Lewis Hamilton with Isaac Hadjar in third. As we get a look at George Russell not serving his penalty correctly. Now, he had to slow quite a bit while Kimi Antonelli was being served the first time around into the pit lane, and they just go straight away and serve it. Yeah. It's almost like they forgot.
Well, they didn't have time probably to do it. I would think they probably didn't have time.
They messed it up completely. Well, if they were intending to serve the penalty, the mechanics went straight. Either the mechanics weren't told or they went ahead anyway and changed the wheels. Then Russell's kind of hesitated before he left.
How many places would he have lost? Because they've all bunched up, haven't they? So it would have been lost so many places.
He served his, and he did lose places. But that's the whole point of a penalty, isn't it?
But sometimes it's better to have the penalty on the track rather than lose so many places in a queue of cars. Anyway, they're now coming back through the pit lane as they were before because the last corner is obviously blocked, and the reason they stopped the race. Now, are we going to get a restart? Are they going to go to a grid? Or have they stopped it for good?
I think we'll get a restart. I'm just wondering, because I think Charles Leclerc's car has been cleared, but because I'm thinking it's something to do with the build-up of marbles on the outside coming into Anthony Nogues, because they were running, both took the same line and both collected a huge amount of tyre marble, offcuts of the tyres, onto those front lefts, and they just could not turn in.
And remember, there was a radio message from George Russell earlier in the race. He said, what's going on at the last corner? It looks like the track's breaking up. Maybe that's what's going on.
I wonder if it is that, and they need to get a better look at it, and they've all come to a stop in the pit lane then, as we have red flag out on track.
Harry, if that is the case and the track is broken up, they're not going to restart this race.
Yes, I've got a message from the FIA here on the media channel saying the red flag is for inspection of the track breakup at turn 19.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, for that. Live coming from the FIA as Kimi Antonelli, our race leader, gets out of his Mercedes car. Now, we've reached lap 68 of 78, and I believe we would, if we ended the race now, we'd still be full points awarded.
It's a full point
for the top 10
race, and then I'm putting my penneth worth in. I don't think they're going to restart this because I think that's why Lance Stroll went off. We were trying to work out what happened. I couldn't see him hit.
I honestly think if you put the Lance Stroll and the Charles Leclerc collision on top of each other, it would be exactly the same.
It's marbles, isn't it? It's basically breaking up racetrack.
As the marshals then, along with the FIA, will inspect it. But how curious. That's never, I don't think, that's not happened in recent history at the Monaco Grand Prix. The last corner at Anthony Nogues, as we get a look at Pierre Gasly from a little earlier on, incorrectly serving his, or being given his 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which is another curious incident that we'll have to get to the bottom of. We'll be analysing everything that we've seen today in our Checkered Flag podcast, which is available on BBC Sounds, and you can watch it on YouTube as well, over on BBC Sport. That'll be out a little later on this evening.
Yeah, it's not so much incorrectly serving a penalty as not trying to serve a penalty for Gasly. But on the subject of Gasly and Russell, now I'm really interested to see how this works out, because at the moment, the way the timing screens have stopped with, 11 laps to go in theory if the race is restarted, Gasly is listed at 11.3 seconds behind George Russell. And if that's the case, they'll sometimes count back by a lap. But even so, if that's the case, Russell will keep that place, fourth place, despite having not served that 5-second penalty.
So it's not a real gap, it's just that they happen to drop back during the safety car.
Also,
period.
Gasly, of course, hasn't served the penalty either, so he will drop back. It may even be that Piastri gets moved ahead of Gasly into 5th place, but Russell keeps hold of 4th, potentially.
Okay, so we're watching now images of a sweeper truck coming in to sweep up bits of track, I guess it is, on the way in to Anthony Nogues. Now, the question is, I can see what they've done there. They've actually put some material down. There's a dark patch over the tarmac that looks like they've already tried to repair it. It looks like it might have been breaking up over the weekend, and they've tried to do something to patch it up, and it's finally given up. But whether they'll manage to patch it up again and get the race restarted is a big question.
Well, while we're under red flag here in Monaco, good time, I think, to head back over to Roland Garros. Russell Fuller. You can listen to that in full over on Sports Extra right now here on 5 Live. It is the Monaco Grand Prix, which was being led by Kimi Antonelli, but the race has been stopped due to work going on down at the final corner after both Lance Stroll and Charles Leclerc, the home hero, getting caught out by the track, breaking up, and the marbles that were certainly building up from the tyres degrading, causing them not being able to turn their cars in and going straight into the barrier. So all the cars are now lined up in the pit lane, drivers out of the car. This is the order: Antonelli, Hamilton and Hadjar. George Russell is 4th, has a 5-second penalty looming over him. So too does Pierre Gasly in 5th. Oscar Piastri is 6th. Liam Lawson is 7th. A real gainer here is Arvid Lindblad, who hasn't pitted, and under a red flag you get a free stop, essentially. You can change your tyres. So Lindblad is all the way up to 8th, having started down in 15th position. So Racing Bull's really benefiting here. Albon is 9th, Sainz is 10th. Those are your point scorers, with Ocon in 11th ahead of Hulkenberg. Colapinto also has a 5-second time penalty. Alonso 14th ahead of Perez, and Gabriel Bortoleto the 16th and last of the drivers in the field.
So Lindblad, whilst he might not have pitted, he's put the same tyres on, so he hasn't actually changed tyres. You need to change the compound, so that's a bit of an odd one, isn't it? I mean, why would they not put a different tyre on? He's done 1 lap on a medium, unless that's wrong. Anyway, this is what I'm looking at my
well, we'll keep track of that. Either way, Arvid Lindblad has massively benefited from his position where he started on the grid, as Fernando Alonso has just sat with his arms folded inside the Aston Martin garage, waiting for news to come in. But certainly this has gone the way right now of Kimi Antonelli, as the FIA with Rui Marquez, the race director, down there on the track looking at the bits of asphalt that seem to have been degraded away almost, or right on the exit, the top level of Anthony Nogues. It's quite banked there as you come in, and it's actually been resurfaced as this block that is a darker colour than the surroundings.
Yeah, it's like that kind of very sticky paint that they put on sometimes on tarmac. What happens with these tyres is they get very grippy, and they literally pull the stones out of the tarmac. They're rubbing them and loosening them, and then eventually the bits of stone stick to the tyre, and then you start to get a big pothole effectively. I mean, there is a long history of tracks breaking up. We've had, what was it, Long Beach, we've had Spa that year where there was breaking up at the hairpin. It's always a bit interesting it breaks up at hairpins. You think it would break up the heaviest loaded part of the circuit, but then maybe they're not going over it for long enough. I don't know.
Usually, if it's going to break up at a slow speed corner, it's because of traction, isn't it? It's like cars accelerating and the force that puts through the rear tyres with all that grip you were talking about, Damon. What's interesting about this one is it's on the entry to the corner.
Yeah, it's not like you brake heavily there, but anyway,
and there's no G-force through the tyres really. It's a very slow corner over a crest, a right-hander with the barrier on the outside. So, but I think you can see that there's two colours of asphalt there, and it's clearly the officials at the moment are standing on the darker of the two bits of asphalt, and that's the new bit of track surface, whereas you can see the viewers can't, but we can see to the left of that there is a much paler and older, the normal road of Monaco. So for some reason they've resurfaced this section here, which I think it looks like it's kind of off the racing line, but it's veering onto the racing line, that darker, newer track surface, and that's where the problems have lain.
Well, as we continue to look into this and hope to get this Monaco Grand Prix restarted on lap 68, red flag out of 78. Kimi Antonelli leads this Grand Prix, but all action stopped for the time being. We're going to continue our coverage of the F1 over on Sports Extra 3, but right now we can hand you here on 5 Live over to Roland Garros, David Law. And the coverage continues for those keen beans who are listening on Sports Extra 3 and have been the entire time, uninterrupted. And, well, let's hope we get this restarted in a timely manner. Selfishly, I think we all have flights to catch tonight, don't we?
I don't.
Oh, you're fine then.
Well, they put the marshals. We're now watching the marshals out with brooms, so they're definitely putting them to work. I think they've taken the decision that he can warn the drivers and say, listen, it's a bit of a break. It's a bit of breakup. It's not. I mean, it's obviously safety is a massive issue. What they could do is sometimes they would do this if it was oil. They would put some sort of absorbent stuff like cement dust or. Once heard it was kitty litter, but anyway, other products are also available. But they do something to soak up some of the wet tarmac, and it kind of bonds it a little bit. But I'm not sure they want to mess about too much with that. But I think if they are doing that, what they're doing now, I think they've taken the decision to restart it.
I'd be surprised if they don't want the race to. They won't want the race to finish under a caution in the way that the way that we've stopped at the moment. It's such an anticlimax. Also, with a potentially breaking up track surface at the last corner. If I'm being cynical about it, it could be quite a dramatic last 10 laps, couldn't it? One of the things they can do, of course, Damon, is wave at that corner the sort of slippery track surface flag, the orange and yellow stripes that people will see that often gets waved when there's oil deposits on the track or something like that, or if it starts raining even.
I don't think there's a single driver out there now who doesn't know that that's slippery there.
It's probably a bit unnecessary now, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think a wave flag will do much other than add to the drama.
Well, some of the drivers with smiles on their faces, some not the case. Pierre Gasly just slammed a towel against the pit wall. He's not happy, despite being in 5th. That could have been 10 points, but he will have
another reason for
he will have a 5-second time penalty.
What it would be.
As another one pops up, not time penalty, but Hadjar under investigation for a safety car infringement. So race control certainly have been busy this afternoon. Remy Marquez is still down there, and as Charles Leclerc waves to the grandstands and walks away, his race over a victim of the breakup of the track in that final corner.
I mean, whilst it might not have been his fault, I'm afraid his car is out of this race, or restart if there is one.
Well, I mean, was it his fault? Well, yes, another driver crashed, but he crashed and no one else did. So, it is his fault effectively, isn't it? It is a mistake. The others didn't do the same thing. I don't know, it's tricky. Let's devil's advocate. Let's go on, Mr. X Racing Driver. What do you think?
I think it's bad luck. I think it's bad. I think it's jolly bad luck. I think he might have been pushing harder than other people and left less margin, but the track falling apart was not in his mindset. I don't think it was in anyone's mindset. I don't think they although having said that, of course, it was reported, like you said. But George has said the track's breaking up and where it was breaking up. So, you know, he was maybe conscious of it.
There was a race a long time ago that was actually cancelled or postponed by several months because of the track breaking up. The 1985 Belgian Grand Prix. It was the return of Spa, actually, after 15 years.
Yeah.
And it was a hot day, a hot weekend in the Ardennes Mountains, and it had just been resurfaced. In those days, asphalt technology wasn't as advanced as it is now, and they had to call the whole thing off and restage it in September. But back in those days, track breakup was a real thing, and tracks had to be cured properly. The advances in technology with asphalt are so significant these days that they can almost resurface something the night before and race on it the next day. So this is very unusual to see this sort of thing in the modern day of Formula One.
Andrew, you can buy this stuff that you put, it's a quick fix pothole thing, and you just chuck it in the pothole and stamp on it, and it dries immediately.
Is that what they do when they mend potholes and then it comes up the next time it rains again?
Well, of course, it doesn't last for long. Obviously, you know, it just needs to last for 10 laps in this case, and it's not even really a pothole, is it? It's just the top surface of the covering they put on has actually broken away, and it's got through to the loose stuff underneath, and it's a shallow pothole if it's a pothole.
We've been given a resumption order and a push cars to front in order sign from race control, so that would suggest, despite not being given any kind of restart time, I don't believe, that we are going to get this back underway, and it will be Kimi Antonelli at the head of the field. And I mean, just he's not done the job yet, has he? But it's been a flawless weekend for him so far.
So what they're doing is
unbelievable.
They're putting, you were asking about lapped cars, Damon, they're doing it in the pit lane. They're moving everybody from 8th place down, all of whom have been lapped. So that's Arvid Lindblad, Alexander Albon, Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, Franco Colapinto, Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez and Gabriel Bortoleto. They're moving them to the front of the pit lane. They will then leave the pit lane in front. And then they will... So they're unlapping themselves in the pit lane, and then they will go round and rejoin the back of the field before the restart.
This is because the machine will be counting the laps they've done, and so
exactly.
Okay.
And it saves a bit of time, I think.
And the other thing to bear in mind, right, is that so Red Bull have pulled what's effectively a strategic masterstroke with Isaac Hadjar. They've decided not to pit him. They got him up into 3rd place, and the rules under a red flag is you can change the specification of the car. So could be a wing, could be damaged bodywork. In his case, he can put fresh tyres on, which he hadn't done before, and keep that 3rd place. So well done, Red Bull.
But again, always on their feet, on their toes when it comes to race situations like this.
However, Hadjar does have a ongoing investigation for a safety car infringement, which we have yet to see.
We know what that was yet.
I don't think we've seen it, no. It's just been it's under investigation.
I mean, I have to say, what was it, 7 cars that have done speeding in the pit lane? Something must be going on.
They're missing something, aren't they?
More than a third of the field.
Maybe the line is a little bit out of sight, but then, I mean, they've been coming in and out of the pit lane all weekend without a problem. So,
just to be clear to the audience on that, what happens? There's a line in the pit lane that demarks where the limited zone is, and then another line at the end where they can accelerate again. Oh, and now George Russell's got a drive-through penalty for something. That'll be for failing to serve his penalty, his pit stop. Now that is a massive blow to Russell.
What does this guy have to do?
He's going to be at the back of the field.
He won't score points today.
No.
Oh my God.
Russell, cannot see him scoring points now, because we'll get this race back underway, and at the first available opportunity he will have to come and drive through the pits at 60 kilometers an hour and try not to be done for speeding again.
I would think by now he's just thinking that there is a malicious demon out there who's got it in for him.
Well, he said in Montreal, someone up there doesn't want me to win this championship, and it certainly looks like it at the moment, doesn't it? He was already going to fall 54 points behind.
I think we're seeing live images of him being told about this drive-through penalty from his engineer, Marcus Dudley, and George Russell has a face like thunder, and he just mouthed the words, "Why?" And unfortunately, Marcus Dudley has the unenviable position of informing him as to why.
They have really messed that up, Mercedes. They should know that if you make a pit stop where you've got a penalty, you've got to serve the penalty when you do it. So it's really a drop ball.
Okay, so that's the rule. Is basically you can't choose to, you have to.
Yeah. Whereas now, what's going to be interesting is Gasly's also got a penalty that he hasn't served, but he didn't make a pit stop. He just carried on. So I doubt the same thing will befall him, because he won't fall foul of the same rule, because he didn't make the pit stop.
So he went down the pit lane.
He went down the pit lane, which
but
is not the same thing.
Come into the pit lane.
Because he had to go down the pit lane, because they were all told to go down the pit lane.
Well, this could really help out Oscar Piastri, who did serve his penalty in the pit lane and lost track position as a result and fell down to 6th behind Russell and Gasly, so that will help regain him some spots.
Yeah, he's going to move back up to 5th, which is not where he was before this all the shenanigans started happening, but it's only one place lost for him in the end. Poor Russell, though. I mean, nothing is going right for him, is it, this year?
No, it is not for George Russell.
So we're seeing the track now here, Harry. You can see the asphalt has worn away, hasn't it, on that sort of new area that I was talking about, and there's a section where the sort of top surface is gone. It's all rough underneath, like sandpaper. Of course, with the Formula 1 tyre, it's the very opposite of sandpaper. It's not grippy at all, that section. So the driver's going to have to be careful if the race starts, which it looks like it's going to.
Yeah, still no time given for that one, but for those in the midfield, could be on for some big points this afternoon. The likes of Lawson, Racing Bulls, Limbad, his teammate, they're currently 7th and 8th. Could be in store to pick off a position or two. Albon and Sainz as well. That Williams double point strategy came back to them with the help of the safety car and the red flag. Ocon right on the periphery of the points in 11th. Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Alonso, Perez and Bortoleto, the remainder of the cars. We did just see a lot of work going on down on Isaac Hadjar's Red Bull with the engine cover completely off. Now, he was having a lot of engine issues earlier on in the race, and I think Red Bull trying to see if they can replace any like-for-like parts, which they are allowed to do under a red flag.
Now, my maths is notoriously questionable, as my wife will tell you, but at the moment, the As It Stands Championship has Russell only 10 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and Russell's going to drop to the back of the field with this penalty. I think Hamilton might pass him for second place in the championship.
It's certainly a big point swing for Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, who's had a good weekend so far, and actually disappointed that he missed out on pole position on Saturday. That went the way of Kimi Antonelli, who has led every single lap of the 68 we've had so far in Monaco, the 6th round of the Formula 1 World Championship, what begins a rather busy time for Formula 1 as we head straight to Barcelona next weekend at the Circuit de Catalunya for the Barcelona Grand Prix. And before you know it, we're at the likes of Austria, the British Grand Prix coming up this summer as well. All of it live on the 5 Live network. And for certainly Kimi Antonelli, with a huge haul of points coming his way, 25, extending his gap at the top of the standings. He'll be leading the Drivers' Championship for the next few races, even if he doesn't pick up any points. Sometimes luck, skill, all play their part in this game we call Formula 1. And certainly the bad news has come on the other side of the garage for George Russell, who will get a drive-through penalty when we restart this race for failing to serve his original 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And so the restart, bunching the cars back up, will cost him a shot at points. Currently up in 4th place, and he will plummet to the bottom.
Well, even as we sit here with nothing really happening, things are happening in that sense. You know, it's incredible how. I mean, I'm still getting over. I can't get over George Russell. I mean, you know, it must be just so disheartening for him. He's trying his best, but now watching a replay, you can hear the noise of his engine as he's now getting close to. He's at Hadjar and fiddling out with his steering wheel.
Hadjar's 10 car lengths, way more than 10 car lengths.
Copy.
And that was George Russell saying that Hadjar is way more than 10 car lengths away from the car in front. Now that then would intimate that is the safety car infringement that Hadjar is now under investigation for. You cannot be more than 10 car lengths away from the car in front. It's deemed to be driving unnecessarily slowly for those behind you. So for Hadjar, up in the podium places.
Yeah. I mean,
that could all come undone after what's been a pretty up and down race for the Frenchman.
He knows his rules, doesn't he, George?
Well, I suppose you have to.
Yeah. And he's quite right. You know, you can't be backed up when you're behind the safety car and be given a disadvantage just because someone is either not concentrating or deliberately backing you away from the rest of the pack. I mean, the thing is, if you drop back to get a clear bit of track, what's happening is you can now accelerate and work the tyres a bit more and get more heat in the tyres. That's why some of them do it. Anyway, that was a moment ago. That was before the incident that stopped the race, and now we're watching stills on. I beg your pardon, stills. We're watching replays on our screen. We're actually going back right to the start now. You're hearing the sound of Max Verstappen's car chugging away at the start. He's quite clearly lost the power and the acceleration off the line, and all the cars. Do you remember that far back? That's at the start of the race. Anyway, Max was out of the race almost from the word go.
It certainly was, and we've lost the likes of Bottas and Behrman as well early doors from this race. Lando Norris as well in the McLaren, Lance Stroll's Aston Martin, and Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari being a victim of the track breakup at the final corner, which is the reason we're under red flag conditions, the race being stopped for a track inspection there. Antonelli so far convincingly leading. We're about to see the first of the victims of that final corner, Lance Stroll, and he just picks up a lot of marbles coming through that final corner and then decides to find the wall, can't turn in, and it's almost carbon copy for Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, who finds the wall as well, and in the end that put the Monegasque out of this Grand Prix, and that has led us to where we are now. Red flag out of this Monaco Grand Prix with lap 68 complete and a restart imminent, we hope, with all the cars just lined up in the pit lane now, waiting for the call from race control as Adrian Newey looks over his Aston Martin car with Alonso. And we're still under red flag conditions, the race being stopped for the track breaking up at the final corner. That is still being inspected, but as I talk to you now, race control have said we will get the Monaco Grand Prix back underway in about 11 minutes time at 12 minutes past the hour. So this race will be resumed, the last 10 laps will be completed, and Kimi Antonelli will head the field in the Mercedes. Hamilton is second with Hadjar third and Russell fourth. All three, though, are under investigation for various penalties. Russell will have to come into the pit lane for a drive-through penalty. That will drop him out of the points as his teammate Antonelli looks set to lead this Grand Prix and bag a full 25. Right, drivers walking back to their cars then. We're going to get this race resumed at 17:12 local time.
And in that thing, you mentioned, Harry, that Lewis Hamilton was one of the people under investigation for a penalty, and we haven't talked about that yet. It's come up on the timing screens just now, or just before you went to 5 Live for that update, that he's under investigation for a safety car infringement. So I wonder if that's the same thing as Isaac Hadjar was doing. It's not necessarily penalised, that sort of thing. There's a steward's discretion. But, I mean, we're in danger of this race finishing and not having any idea of the order other than the fact that Kimi Antonelli's won it.
Well, we're getting a look now at Lewis Hamilton, and I think it is falling more than 10 car lengths back. He really slows down coming out of the Nouvelle chicane, and that's definitely more than 10 car lengths.
Yeah, way more, and of course he's then going very quickly under a waved yellow flag as well.
Yeah, it's as Antonelli speeds through to back, and by the time he's out the exit of the swimming pool chicane, Hamilton's only just coming through to back.
What's the penalty for that?
It'll be a good few seconds or a drive-through or something like that. And the race is going to finish in a long line, probably, because there's only 11 laps to go.
I tell you what, though, the stewards have been fairly quick with dashing out the penalties. So
to be fair, they have, but it's just, I mean, I'm just trying to ponder the order, Harry, as to what it might be. It could be.
But George has got a penalty, but Lewis has got a penalty.
At this rate, we're going to have the Racing Bulls finish second and third behind Antonelli.
Well, Oscar Piastri's really coming up trumps right now.
Him, yes. Forgot about Piastri, sorry, yeah.
Don't forget Piastri. He's still there clinging on in the McLaren. Well, let's see how this all unfolds here. But I certainly think some of those in the midfield could be in store for a huge result here. And these results really stand over the course of a season. Just look back last 2 years ago. Alpine getting a double podium at a rainy Brazil. It really lifted them up through the order.
I mean, it's still another test, yet another test for Kimi Antonelli, isn't it? They've thrown a safety car restart at him, and they've all the other things that get thrown at you, and they've now got to do another one. And Lewis Hamilton, well, will he have an opportunity to attack? Even if he gets a penalty, he's going to have a go. He's going to put pressure on Kimi, but he can't afford another penalty. I mean, he can't afford to drop back again. He'll be told about. Hopefully, the race engineer will tell him, don't do that again, because they've got to. Well, are they going to go for behind the safety car? Or are they going to?
No, they like to do a start off the grid, don't they? And we've just seen Arvid Lindblad getting a lecture, or at least some instructions from Racing Bull's team principal Alan Permain, because of course Arvid Lindblad, this will be his first situation anything like this in Formula One. So Alan Permain will have been talking him through exactly what he's got to do. Remember, he's the first driver in that line of lapped cars that's got to go out at the front of the pit lane and effectively unlap themselves in the pit lane and then rejoin the back of the pack before the restart.
Yeah, I mean they stop the race. When they stop a race, when they restart a race, they've got the option to start behind a safety car, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got an option to, and I'm not saying that they're definitely going to have a standing start, but they usually like to have a standing start just because it's extra jeopardy and excitement and all the rest of it. And of course, for Kimi, if they do a standing start for Kimi Antonelli, this Grand Prix was the first race, sprint or Grand Prix, all year that he hadn't lost at least one place off the line.
Exactly.
And so he's got to go through all that again.
And now he's going to have a Ferrari, which are very good off the line, actually right next to him. And
Ferrari with a pen. Oh, sorry.
You got so excited there, you switched your mic off.
I don't know what I did. My mic, I switched it on again, turned the volume down, and I don't know what was going on. Sorry about that, everybody.
We were just watching some images of Lewis running to his car. Well, he wasn't running; he was on a scooter. But his physio, Angela, was running along behind him with his hands device and stuff. So he's in a bit of a panic. Everyone's in a bit of a panic now to get in the car. We're watching images of Kimi Antonelli looking away into the middle distance as they strap him in. He seems to be getting his mind into gear now for what's about to happen.
Yeah, and so just to finish that point, a fast starting Ferrari with Hamilton in it, with a penalty potentially hanging over him. Just imagine Hamilton takes the lead at the start and then loses it for a penalty for a safety car infringement.
Yeah, it's very difficult to follow Formula One, isn't it, everyone? So I'm very sorry. We're trying our best.
I will say he's still under investigation, yet to have any outcome for Hamilton or Hadjar for their safety car infringements.
At least we don't have penalty shootouts, is all I can say. Because
I feel like
this
is a penalty
shootout, isn't it? This is kind of like a penalty shootout. And
is there a record for the amount of penalties handing out in one weekend? In one race?
This has to be it.
Yeah,
this has to be
it. Must be. I'll have to look into that. You can hear that kind of stuff on the Checker Flag podcast later.
Yeah.
Right, so Antonelli then will take the restarts as our leader. Hamilton will be alongside him. Hadjar in third, Russell fourth, Gasly fifth. Fourth and fifth is George Russell and Pierre Gasly, Mercedes and Alpine. They have penalties they need to serve. George Russell will have to come in for a drive-through penalty for failing to serve his time penalty correctly. And for Pierre Gasly, I believe he might just have the 5 seconds added on at the end of his race time when he crosses the line. So that will benefit the likes of Oscar Piastri in 6th, Lawson 7th, Lindblad 8th, Albon and Sainz your current top 10, with Ocon in 11th and Hülkenberg 12th, possibly looking to get themselves a few points or two once we get this race back underway, and it will restart in about 4.5 minutes time. Sergio Perez at the back of the pack in 15th, looking to hold on to what could be their best, equal best finish of the year. No, I stand corrected. Well, in terms of a Grand Prix at least, it might actually equal it. Sergio Perez 14th in the sprint in Canada, and depending the way penalties go, could record Cadillac's best ever finish if he can pit Fernando Alonso for 14th and maybe even Colapinto.
Sadly, no points down there, but
no points, but certainly keeps him ahead of Aston Martin. in the fight over last place.
As things stand, we should be okay with the 3-hour limit. They brought in a limit to the length of the event. It can possibly go on after the Canadian, I think it was Grand Prix that went on for like 7 hours or something a few years back with Jenson Button winning. I don't know how long that race actually was it 4 hours? Or what?
The Canadian Grand Prix one, it was a long old time.
A long time. Anyway, they can't go on longer than 3 hours anymore, but we've still got another 50 minutes to go, I think, or so, within that window. Normally it's a 2-hour limit for a race, or the 200 miles, whatever comes first.
Yeah, well, they'll I think we'll be fine. I don't think we'll have any kind of reduced distance, Andrew.
So we've got information from the FIA. The field will reform in correct order under the safety car for 1 or 2 laps, followed by a standing start. Lap cars to be released first, which the second bit we already knew. The first bit about the standing start is what I predicted, but you never know that for sure until the FIA is confirmed.
Okay, standing start it is for the last 10 laps of the Monaco Grand Prix. Well, it will be less than that by the time we get there. And it piles on the pressure once more for Kimi Antonelli, who's been faultless, it has to be said, from lap 1. And now, can he bring it home? He's having everything chucked at him right now.
Yes, it really is.
But, as we said, a good test. And if you are a world champion in waiting, there should be no skin off your back.
It's what we do. I mean, we stress test these guys. They are being massively stress tested. That's why we're so impressed by them, is they're able to cope with all these added complications and dramas and resets as well, because basically they thought that it was all done and dusted, we all did, and now it's all got to start again.
Hamilton, though, will be right alongside him. Still no news on any kind of penalty for him. And he could, with a fast-starting Ferrari, suddenly find himself leading the Monaco Grand Prix. Here's Piastri's radio.
Oscar, the FIA have said unlikely to go straight for the standing restart. There'll be some laps behind the safety car. They've said they'll take a very dim view of people leaving more than 10 car lengths.
A very dim view of people leaving more than 10 car lengths, which is what Oscar Piastri's engineers just reported back for him, telling him to be wary of that with these first 2 formation laps, which could suggest that they are going to be a little bit heavy-handed with those that are already under investigation for that, which is Lewis Hamilton and Isaac Hadjar.
And this is one of the circuits where you have to say the safety car is going to have trouble going fast enough to get the cars behind to put heat in their tyres. So it's a very smooth circuit anyway. It's quite hard to get heat in the tyres, and that's why they were dropping back. But I mean, they've all got to close up now and follow the safety car, but the safety car has to be going fast enough for them to get heat in the tyres and not drop back. At the moment we're looking at cars, there's massive gaps between them, so it's going to take a few laps for them to actually bunch up.
It certainly will.
Let's see the safety car going up the hill. I haven't seen a single car yet.
Welcome back to listeners on 5 Live. Yeah, we're just moments away from getting this Monaco Grand Prix back underway after a red flag for the track breaking up at the final corner, which sadly Charles Leclerc, the home hero, was the last victim of, crashing out of this Grand Prix, and that's led us to where we are now, and it's going to be a standing start. So another lights out moment to deal with for the 19-year-old who has led from start to, well, lap 68 so far. Kimi Antonelli alongside me is the 1996 F1 World Champion Damon Hill. It's another test for the youngster.
Yeah, it's sort of like a sprint, but it's only a 10-lap race at the end of the main race. He's done everything he needed to do to get himself into the position of being in the lead of the pack, but now he's going to be put under another test of a new start to a Grand Prix, and he's got a Ferrari, the better starting car, alongside him of Lewis Hamilton.
And I think everyone using this time to under a red flag to switch on to some soft rubber if they have it to go to the end. You can have a free change of tyre under red flag conditions. You can change like for like parts as well if you need anything repaired. And as they come out of the order, it's going to be Antonelli, Hamilton, Hadjar, Russell and Gasly, your top 5.
Now, I just remember what we heard from Piastri's radio about not leaving more than 10 car lengths. Lewis Hamilton and Isaac Hadjar already under investigation for that. They've just done it again. Almost certainly they were more than 10 car lengths behind as they came round Casino Square, Mirabeau and then the hairpin at...
Andrew, they haven't had a chance to catch up the safety car yet, because they've literally...
It doesn't matter, they've got to stay within that range of the other car.
Hajar again is leaving massive gaps.
There you go, there's Russell dobbing Hajar in, and Hamilton did exactly the same thing in front of Hajar behind Antonelli.
Russell, who you just heard from, will have to come in to serve a drive-through penalty. That's a failing to serve a time penalty that he was handed earlier on for speeding in the pit lane. So unfortunately for George Russell, he may well find himself falling out of the points once we get this race underway. Here is Hajar.
I'm slow, I don't have enough power.
Yeah, keep pushing. You're low on power. It's coming back.
No further action for the safety car infringement for Lewis Hamilton, with Isaac Hajar perhaps staking the reason being he just doesn't have the power. He has been struggling with engine issues throughout the race.
That'll be the first safety car infringement, not the one we just seen.
Yes. But that one hasn't come up yet, though, has it?
No, it's just me reporting that, which doesn't really count.
You're reporting it to the stewards.
So at the moment, Hamilton, don't report it.
I don't think the FIA listens to me, David.
Hamilton's been cleared, so he can now go full beans for his first victory in 679 days. His last win, Lewis Hamilton, coming in 2024 at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's going to be a standing start. It's going to be Antonelli who has led every lap starting from pole this weekend.
They have just swept it.
Yeah, still broken up.
It could be.
So that's referring to the final corner where we saw parts of Anthony Nogues breaking up and causing a loss of grip, and two cars finding the wall as a result. Antonelli still reporting it's not quite there yet, but you can understand why. He probably would quite like to finish this race the sooner the better. The youngster who leads this championship going for his first Monaco Grand Prix victory.
Yeah, and Isaac Hajar complaining about lack of power. On board with Isaac Hajar, you can hear them now. They're weaving and they are accelerating and braking, trying to get as much heat into the brakes, into the tyres, into the whole thing before the safety car pulls in. And now the safety car might be doing another lap. I haven't seen him putting the lights on just yet. We've got 8 laps to go. The safety car is pulling in, and Kimi Antonelli is now backing them all up as they come down to the last corner and gets on the gas and starts this race again.
It's going to be a standing start.
He's begging your pardon, he's blessed.
We'll do the race start and then we'll get 2 racing laps and then we will need to do a drive-through penalty.
And that is a real killer for George Russell as Kimi Antonelli lines up on the grid then. He will start this race restart from pole. On lap 70 will tick over, and 78 laps will be the checkered flag. Hamilton alongside, Hajar in third, Russell and Gasly the top 5. Piastri is 6th. Could be good results for the midfield with the likes of Racing Bulls, Liam Lawson in 7th and Arvid Lindblad 8th. Don't forget the 2 Williams drivers as well. They're 9th and 10th. Albon ahead of Sainz, currently occupying the point scorers. Esteban Ocon and Nico Hulkenberg will fancy a sniff at some points in 11th and 12th. Colapinto, Alonso and Perez the top 15, with Bortoleto 16, the last car in the field. We're going to get this Monaco Grand Prix restarted. It's Kimi Antonelli on pole, the fast starting Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton alongside. It's eyes to the lights and foot to the floor as we go racing again in Monaco, and it's a good start from Antonelli doing what he needed to do through Sandervot. The right-hander holds the lead from Lewis Hamilton. George Russell falling further behind, keeping Pierre Gasly at bay, but a good start from Kimi Antonelli. And I just wonder here, is George Russell just trying to slow the rest of the pack up behind him because he knows he has to come in for a drive-through penalty?
Maybe actually, Harry, and Hajar has lost 2 places to Russell and Pierre Gasly's Alpine in that one as well, so that's all the more reason for Russell to do this.
And behind Russell it is Gasly as it all gets rather sloppy down at the hairpin 2 by 2. One of the Hasses make contact. It's the Williams into the wall of Carlos Sainz. He carries on going, but he gets biffed round and now has damage and falls out of the order. Sergio Perez in the Cadillac is up to 12th. Alonso right behind him. Could we see an outlier nick a point today with this Monaco Grand Prix restart, as Carlos Sainz, I think, has suspension damage and finds himself pulling out of this race? I think we'll get away with that one because he's found the wall and the exit road and cleared the car from the track himself. But at the end of lap 71 of this restarted race, Antonelli, Damon Hill doing what he needs to do. A good start. Hamilton second, 1.4 back.
He's well on the road now, isn't he? He's done a fantastic double good start, and he's kept a Ferrari behind him, and Lewis Hamilton is sitting there. But unfortunately, I think now it's going to be very difficult for Lewis, even if he can catch him up, to actually get past. But the start was brilliant for Kimi Antonelli, so he's well on his way now. We've got a few more laps to go. Can he keep his cool? He's been incredibly cool all weekend. I don't expect him to have any problem with polishing off this Grand Prix, but it was all a bit too close for everyone, being backed up by George Russell going down to the Lowe's hairpin. There was far too many cars, and inevitably Carlos Sainz got hooked up with, I think it was an Audi there, and got biffed into the barriers. There was just no way you could get so many cars around a small hairpin like that.
That'll be a real gut punch for Williams, who are looking at a double point score this afternoon. Now Carlos Sainz out of this race, 15 cars remain.
Why isn't Russell backing them up more? That's what I want to know. He's still only 4.7 seconds behind Hamilton and 1.6 seconds ahead of Gasly.
Side-by-side action further back in the pack between the sole remaining Williams of Alex Albon and the Audi of Nico Hülkenberg. And Hülkenberg just trying to get by here, up into 9th spot. I wonder if he'll be allowed to keep that one, though. I'd like to see how that manoeuvre started. Russell is told to pit to serve his drive-through penalty, and he will plummet down the order as he does now come into the pit lane. Gasly up to 3rd, Hadjar 4th, Piastri now 5th as Lawson gets up into 6th, Lindblad 7th, Hülkenberg is now 8th, Albon 9th, Ocon 10th, and George Russell reappears. Will he get out ahead of the Audi of Bortoleto? No, he will not. He will come out in 14th, only ahead of Franco Colapinto.
It's been a miserable Monaco for George Russell. He doesn't seem to be able to get a break at the moment at this early part of the championship, and Kimi Antonelli, his teammate, is just absolutely mopping up victories now as we watch cars jostling for position around the hairpin. They're all bunched up, obviously, because of the restart. So all to play for, but some of them are outside the points. We have Albon is now up to 8th. We had Williams on course for a two-car points finish, but now it's just down to Alex Albon as Carlos Sainz has retired.
Antonelli leads by 1.5 seconds from Lewis Hamilton. Pierre Gasly, who does have a penalty hanging over him, is in 3rd. Isaac Hadjar, he will be investigated after the race for his red flag infringement. He sits in 4th place as we're going to get another look at what happened to Carlos Sainz. He was going into the hairpin, actually side by side with his Williams teammate, and they all get bunched up, and then actually it's Sainz who gets a bit of a kick from Ocon in the Haas, and then as he has to make the turn, comes across the Audi of Hülkenberg, and unfortunately I think that is just a bit of a race incident and a concertina at the hairpin that has resulted in Sainz being out of this race.
Yeah, watching another replay of all of that drama as, oh my goodness, and Gabriel Bortoleto very nearly goes into the back of the cars. He couldn't stop at the hairpin, and he slithered through and has actually muscled his way through about 3 places at the hairpin, I think.
And for good measure, Franco Colapinto then spins round Carlos Sainz out of Portier. So actually the damage at the hairpin isn't what put Sainz out of this race. It was Colapinto crashing into him at Portier that sees Sainz out of this one, and Colapinto with a bit of damage right at the back of the pack, and he is under investigation for that now. Right, Antonelli, Hamilton, Gasly the top 3. Gasly with a penalty that will be served. Hadjar is 4th under investigation, but we won't know the outcome of that until after this race. Piastri looking good to pick up big points here in 5th. So too for Lawson and Lindblad, the 2 racing bulls, 6th and 7th right now. Albon is 8th. Hülkenberg looking for his first points of the year in 9th, with Esteban Ocon in 10th. And only a couple of seconds outside the points is the Cadillac of Sergio Perez in 11th. Alonso 12th, Bortoleto, Russell and Colapinto, the 15 drivers that remain.
Still no power. Come on!
That was Hadjar, who has been struggling with power from his Red Bull Ford engine all day long.
Yeah, well, so far he's managed to make it this far. He might even make it to the end. I mean, we had him down as a non-finisher at one point, as his teammate also was out earlier on in the race. But yeah, he's been fighting that low power delivery, and I'm presuming it's some sort of deployment thing. You know, he's not able to get the thing to give him that electrical power that he needs to be competitive. But anyway, he's struggling along. He's in 4th place, and as you say, Perez 11th and still going strong. Can something else happen? I mean, I'm amazed they haven't had a safety car after all those cars collided at the Fairmont hairpin earlier on. But so far we've just got cars following each other nose to tail. Bit of pressure here on Hadjar from Piastri, and it's incredible, isn't it, how the survivors have made it through this race. Lindblad and so forth have played the long game. They haven't pitted, and it's all come to them. They've given them an opportunity by just holding the faith that there'll be a safety car at some point.
Oh yeah, that's how Monaco can play its hand sometimes. Lap 76 of 78 then, Antonelli leads. Hamilton and Gasly the top 3 in this restarted race. Just a few laps to go until we get to the conclusion here. Before we do that, let's head back to Roland Garros. David Law. Continue coverage over on Sports Extra, as here on 5 Live you're listening to the conclusion of the Monaco Grand Prix. Sergio Perez under investigation for being out of position. That's the second time he's been investigated for that, in the first start of this race and the second start. Well, we'll see what happens with that, but he's doing a fantastic job staying in this race for Cadillac, and just on the fringes of the points would record 11th as Cadillac's best finish in Formula 1. Let's see if anything comes his way, as Kimi Antonelli just puts fastest lap after fastest lap on the board and leads Hamilton by 4.9 seconds on this penultimate lap.
Yeah, the message from Pete Bonington was we don't need Kimi, don't need fastest laps, but at the moment you probably do need fastest laps because he needs to get away, but he's got a 5-second lead, which is a healthy margin right now. He probably can settle, but the thing about putting in fastest laps is that you can concentrate better if you're pushing. If you relax a bit, your concentration can go, so he's probably safer going as close to his limit as he possibly can. And he's still looking only one more lap to go, isn't it? And after this one, and then he's got it in the bag. So he's absolutely been stunning this weekend. He's been absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to put the commentator curse on him just yet, but I mean it has been a pretty impressive performance. I say pretty. I mean it's absolutely impressive.
It has been, hasn't it? And we will certainly be analysing all of it on our Checkered Flag podcast, available on BBC Sounds, and you can watch it as well over on the BBC Sport YouTube channel later on this evening. But we will stay with you for the conclusion of this Monaco Grand Prix here on 5 Live, where Kimi Antonelli is looking set to make it 5 victories in a row and extend his championship lead. We are on the final lap. If it stays like this, Kimi Antonelli will have a 66-point lead at the top of the championship, and it won't be over his teammate, it will be over Lewis Hamilton, who will move up into second in the Drivers' Championship. But now Kimi Antonelli through the Nouvelle Chicane one more time, clouts the curb, the sun still shining over us here on the French Riviera, glints off the silver arrow, he carves his way through Tabac, a left-hander, dances his way one last time over the chicanes at the swimming pool. Rascasse, where the parties will go on once more into the evening, round the final corner as the back end kicks out for Kimi Antonelli. Down the start-finish straight we go. The checkered flag will see the Mercedes driver etch his name into history as Kimi Antonelli wins the Monaco Grand Prix and makes it 5 wins in a row in 2026. Lewis Hamilton makes it back-to-back podiums for Ferrari as he finishes in second. Pierre Gasly will cross the line in third, and he may well hold on to it as well. No, he won't. He immediately gets his time penalty and he falls off the podium. Hadjar takes third for Red Bull, but is under investigation. Piastri fourth, Lawson fifth, Lindblad sixth, with Gasly in seventh. Albon, Hulkenberg and Ocon are your top 10.
Get in there, Kimi. Nice work there, pal. That was a masterclass, mate. First Monaco win.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a bit tense at the end there, mate. Bit tense at the end, but yeah, what a great job.
Thank you so much, guy. Car was a beast today. My goodness, thank you so much.
No, great job there, mate. Great job.
Kimi Antonelli on the radio. Damon, are we seeing history before us being made?
I interrupted you as you were summing up because he went through the exit of the swimming pool chicane on the last lap, the lap where he's got a 5-second lead. He didn't need to do that, and he missed the barrier by millimetres, and then started doing drifting up towards Anthony Noakes, where we've had 2 cars out.
Great job, guys. Sorry I can pull the win. Sorry I couldn't get the win in the end. They just had the upper hand on us this weekend. But mega result. Really grateful for all the hard work, and let's continue to push. Thank you. Grazie a tutti.
That's a tell, Lewis. For today we can be happy.
And that was Lewis Hamilton coming home in second and moving up into second in the Drivers' Championship as well. Good work from the Brits, showing on the good form that Ferrari has been on the last couple of races.
5 wins on the trot.
It's incredible what Kimi Antonelli has just done, and Hadjar under investigation on the podium.
Bravo, Jobbing, good job. It's P3. Nice work.
Oh my god, why does it have to be so difficult?
Yeah, you worked hard for that one, mate. We threw everything at you. Good job.
Well, let's hope Hadjar can keep his podium after he will be investigated for a safety car infringement, but if he's been having power issues, he might not have been able to do anything about it. But his first podium then in his Red Bull colours. That concludes us here in Monaco. Kimi Antonelli is your race victor around the streets of the Principalities. So let's hand you back to Roland Garros and Russell Fuller. And as they heel into Parc Fermé, Antonelli, pole position, led every lap, fastest lap and victory. That is a Grand Slam in Formula One. And Kimi Antonelli is now the youngest driver in F1 history to record a Grand Slam. And what a young podium it is. You've got a 19-year-old winner in Kimi Antonelli. You've got a 21-year-old in third in Isaac Hadjar. And a 41-year-old in second in Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, showing he's still got it as he comes over to the man that replaced him at Mercedes and gives him a tap on the helmet and a handshake. Piastri picking up some much needed points for McLaren in fourth, Liam Lawson fifth, Arvid Lindblad in sixth, Gasly seventh after the penalty, Albon eighth, Ocon ninth, and Sergio Perez up inside the top 10, records Cadillac's first ever point. However, he will be investigated now for being out of position at the start of the race. That will be crushing if he loses a point, and that could go to Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin, Andrew Benson.
It's just been the most remarkable final 10 laps of this race, hasn't it? It's taken like nearly an hour or something to get them done. But, I mean, what a Grand Prix, Harry. I mean, you know, where do you start with all the stories? You know, Kimi Antonelli, wow, he has really stamped his authority on this championship. This was, I think, the superlatives just keep on coming. I think this was, you know, last weekend in Canada, last race in Canada two weekends ago was his best result yet, I think, his best performance yet. This one, I think, tops it again. He was absolutely flawless all weekend. And here we are with some extraordinary stories. Pierre Gasly's already been demoted, by the way, down to 7th place with his penalty, I think. And then we still don't know what's going to happen to the final points places. You know, but I mean, for Kimi Antonelli, as he celebrates now in front of the sort of phalanx of marshals, the sort of standard Monaco, standing on the pit straight in front of the cars. He's embracing Lewis Hamilton as we speak.
This is a very happy podium.
It is a very happy podium, and I tell you what, I mean, obviously Fernando Alonso, if he gets that place, whoever gets that 10th place, Sergio Perez, what a result for a new Cadillac team. And Aston Martin, who just had the worst weekend of the worst year of their career and the worst season of Fernando Alonso's quarter-century career. If Perez doesn't get the point, then it'll be them. They probably don't deserve it, but it'll be still a story in itself. Kimi Antonelli, Harry, is just taking off his helmet. What must he be going through at the moment? It's just incredible.
This is a champion in waiting, Kimi Antonelli. And as we now look at scenes of George Russell on the pit wall with his engineer and shaking his head, Russell in the end with the drive-through came home in 13th place, only ahead of Hulkenberg and Colapinto. What has he got to do for it to swing his way?
Well, that's the story of the race in many ways, isn't it, Harry? The complete contrast in fortunes for the two Mercedes drivers. Kimi Antonelli absolutely flawless. George Russell's had a really difficult weekend on track. He's been off the pace. Interviews are coming up, but
with David Coulthard talking to our top three.
Isaac Hadjar, congratulations, your second podium in Formula One. And of course here in Monte Carlo, that was not an easy race for you. I can see it on your face. Take us through the journey.
Yeah, I mean, we got off to a clean start and we're managing the race, and then within the first 10, 15 laps, I started having massive drivability issues, and around here, if there's one track you don't want that, it's here. So yeah, it was incredibly challenging having to cover 60 laps like that. And even towards the end, I was still lacking power on the restart, and yeah.
And then having this red flag, the uncertainty as to whether it's going to be grid starts, following or not, getting your head back into that. So a very tough weekend and a tough afternoon, I guess, to finally get that podium.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, on that restart, I felt like I had a good start, and then suddenly I had a hole, and I lost 2 places. But I knew the cars had that penalty, but I had limited power, and I never had to send it that much in my life through the corners to stay within 5 seconds of Pierre. But yeah, it's an outstanding weekend considering how it started in FP1. I had no confidence to get back up. But we did it, so yeah, I'm happy.
Excellent. Well driven. Enjoy the podium.
Thank you.
Isaac Hadjar gets his first podium for Red Bull. Here's second place man Lewis Hamilton for Ferrari, speaking once again
Lewis
to
Hamilton,
David Coulthard.
You have now just had your 8th podium result here in Monaco. That equals the late great Ayrton Senna. There's no one more than you two guys have had more podiums. You've been on it all weekend. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to start by congratulating Kimi and to the Mercedes team. My whole family, they've done it again. They've created an amazing car, and Kimi's doing an incredible job just delivering weekend in, weekend out. So it's great to see, and I'm really happy for them. On our side, I think we've been progressing over the past months, and can't quite keep up with them just yet. And it's probably going to take a lot of work for us to get to their level. But to get another second place is such a great feeling, especially in Monaco. Under the trickiest conditions, it was the hardest conditions out there, and we've had such a great turnout today as well. So yeah, I'll definitely take it.
But just briefly on that, when you mentioned the difficult conditions, what particularly of all of the Grand Prix you've done here was giving you the biggest challenge?
I think for me, it's really the car is. The car is good, but we need more downforce ultimately, and I think just with the tires, with the different scenarios we had out there, you know, I ran out of tires quite early in the first stint, and then I was on that long second stint, and these tires aren't particularly great just over a long stint, so holding on to that was going to be tough. And then once we had to slow down on the safety car, you lose all temperature, and you saw with other drivers out there that it was really hard to stay on track. So I think just with all the different things that have been thrown at us, it was massively challenging. But really, really grateful for the day. Happy, grateful to the team. Grazie to everyone back at the factory, and all the guys here worked so hard to get this result. They truly deserve this and more. And I just got to keep working harder to try and see if I can finally take that next step for them soon.
Yeah. Well, I know you know your way to the podium, so enjoy.
Thank you.
Second place man Lewis Hamilton there, and getting a bit emotional there at the record with Ayrton Senna. Here's your race winner though, Kimi Antonelli.
Kimi Antonelli, this is your 5th straight victory, but I think in the context of right now in Monte Carlo, you have been flawless all weekend. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been an incredible weekend, incredible race, and it was one of those days where, you know, we had so incredible pace, and it was just coming all so natural, and the car was feeling incredible, and it just was giving me the confidence to push, so it was a very enjoyable day.
The last time an Italian won this Grand Prix, you weren't even born. It was Jarno Trulli 22 years ago. You're not just representing your family, your team, you're representing a nation.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and job's not finished, you know, it's still a long season, and we got to keep pushing, keep raising the bar, and the goal is to keep, you know, keep performing like this. You know, the team is doing an incredible job. They've given us an incredible car, and I've got so much support from the team as well, from my family. So, yeah, it's a really good moment so far.
I was watching you when you were out of the car during the red flag. Nothing seems to faze you. You know, I think when they announced the grid start, I would have thought, I got to do it all again. But you're just soaking it up.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't super keen on restarting as well because, I didn't really want to restart. But then, you know, once the notification came out, I just gathered my emotion, my thoughts, and I started to focus again. Looked at some data and so on, and just tried to refocus on restarting and then trying to get the tires in the right temperature. And then once I got away, I knew I was going to make it into P1, into the first corner. And then from that point on, I just enjoyed the last few laps.
Well, I think we can call this Grand Prix weekend perfection. Congratulations. Go and enjoy spraying the champagne.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us this weekend.
Your Monaco Grand Prix winner, Kimi Antonelli, as the celebrations will go long into the evening. What a weekend it has been for the young Italian. We're going to be analysing all of that on our Checkered Flag podcast, available on BBC Sounds, and you can hear it on YouTube as well on the BBC Sport website. That is it for now for our BBC F1 coverage here from Monaco. On Sports Extra 3 here, we'll be heading to Taunton for the T20 Blast Cricket. But first, Kevin House.
No, thanks, Harry. Yeah, interesting afternoon, busy afternoon there for you. Plenty more to come in the podcast, which will be dropping a little bit later. Busy all day in cricket as well. We've got the Test match, which finished